system. From Iron Man, the counteroffensive begins. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 426 Silly. There is a different world, and the strings are so charming. However, after entering the flower boats connected by iron chains, the scenery Luo Wen saw inside was very different from what he heard outside, and the vulgarity he saw outside the gate of Zuxianju. Every guest who came and went was a polite and modest gentleman, and every word and action was polite and measured. The colorful lights that were divided into different areas and harmonized with colored paper showed the ingenuity and exquisiteness here. Oh, by the way, Li Hangcheng, as the Prince of Jing, needs to make a reservation when he comes to the flower boat in the lake. It seems that the buildings on the shore are the so-called brothels, and the flower boats are high-end clubs. The figure is graceful and the appearance is stunning. Luo Wen saw that the women in each area, in addition to a handcard hanging on their wrists, were also the best in figure and appearance. They were natural and unpretentious, and they were the most touching. Compared with Fan Ruoro and Lin Wana, they were not much worse, and compared with those ladies at the poetry meeting at Jingwang Mansion in the daytime, they far exceeded most people. Ding dong up, chime bells. This woman is good at playing ancient music, and the Ministry of Rights has asked her for advice. Suddenly, the bell stopped. The beautiful woman in white, with a gentle and ancient look on her face, blinked her long eyelashes, looking at Luo Wen in a daze. After reacting, she took off the wooden sign in her hand and handed it to him. What? Here, take it. This is the rule on the flower boat. It is not the men who choose them, but they who choose the guests they like. Handing over the card means that she likes you. Swish. Before Li Hangcheng finished speaking, the gentlewoman with lowered eyebrows and submissive eyes had a shy face, and her face was full of red. Wait a minute, you mean, if I take the cards, I have to be with her? Haha, don't be afraid, brother Fan. If you don't want to, you can just give the cards back to her. However, when Ruohan is still a virgin, brother Fan, won't you consider it again? Luo Wen's firm determination for many years was almost shaken here, and was invaded by his inner demons. Fortunately, no, I'm sorry, Miss Wen. It's okay, Mr. Fan, don't feel guilty, it's just that we are not destined to be together with Ruohan. Not only does she look ethereal, but her voice seems to have been washed by music, clear and pleasant. Some are talented in opera, some are graceful in dancing, and some are highly accomplished in calligraphy and painting. They are more elegant and scholarly than ordinary talented scholars. Some are cute, some are mature and steady, some are bold and provocative, cold, beautiful, charming, arrogant, plump, and all have extraordinary skills. But the common point without exception is that their appearance and figure are rare and excellent in the world. Perhaps they can appear here with a hand card on their hands, which is a kind of certificate of qualification. They are the bosses of Zuxianju. When they came, they were the best seedlings, and then they looked for famous teachers to guide their skills, which were used to attract customers and make friends with the dignitaries in Kyoto. They are so clever that Luo Wen can't help but admire them. Curiosity, freshness, all the needs of men can be met here. Not only do you have to be rich, but you also have to have an extraordinary background and power. No wonder Zuxianju is so famous that even Fan Ruoro wants to come in and observe. Luo Wen found that he had misunderstood Fan Ruoro and underestimated the wisdom of his old friend. He could not help but be alert and pondered secretly. Whoosh, chirp snap, snap, Miss Celila's flower boat is moving. Miss Celila's flower boat is moving. Ah, really, is Miss Celila coming out? Hurry, we must not miss such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As the bright and beautiful fireworks exploded in the night sky, Luo Wen seemed to have attracted too much attention in the flower boat without knowing it. The sky was completely dark. Inside and outside the flower boat, as well as in the gatehouse in front, there were bursts of footsteps, some light, some heavy, and some anxious. Everyone, regardless of gender, was looking for windowsills and corridors, for fear of missing Celila's peerless beauty. Oh, I told you, a good match is destined by heaven. Brother Fan, it seems you are very lucky today. Li Hongcheng, who had always been calm and collected, now looked like a young man with a face full of excitement. He pulled Luo Wen out. As for why he was so sure that Sea Lily came just for Fan Zion, Luo Wen was also a little curious. He didn't expect that a song climbing the heights could be so useful. Wow, snap, snap, the sky was colorful, the water was also full of light and color, and a long string of pleasure boats, like red flowers and green leaves, followed the leading pleasure boat one after another, just like a school of fish following their leader. Wow, is that pretty figure Sea Lily? She's so beautiful. Yes, the pleasure boat is breaking the water, the night scene is beautiful, that must be Miss Sea Lily. She's coming, I'm so nervous. Amidst the clamor, in addition to the young men and women who stretched their heads and looked obsessed, Luo Wen and Prince Jing were also standing quietly at the bow of the flower boat. Few people stopped here, at least without a certain status. They dared not bother Prince Jing. The entire river bay and lake were staring at the leading pleasure boat with burning eyes, and few people noticed that Luo Wen, who had his back to the dazzling fireworks, had a handsome young man like him on the flower boat. Clang, the pleasure boat approached the shore, and two pretty maids walked in front with lanterns. Then, a pair of small satin lotus embroidered shoes appeared from the cabin curtain, and caught everyone's eyes. One smile can conquer the city, another smile can conquer the country. Beautiful, so beautiful. She is so beautiful, like a goddess descending from heaven. Such a woman is not something that mortals like us can touch, alas. She has an outstanding figure, and her every frown and smile is like a person in a painting. She looks at me. Ah, Sea Lily, I want to be as beautiful as you, Sea Lily. The die-hard fans in ancient society seem to be no less than those in the modern world, or even better. A group of crazy men and women looked at the beautiful figure, all of them with crazy faces. Some even screamed and danced, wishing they could jump off the flower boat and swim to the side of the boat to have a kiss. Sea Lily, wearing a black gauze skirt, walked slowly and gracefully. Her every move was dignified and noble. Her demeanor was calm. Her black hair cascaded down her upright back like a waterfall, and just covered her slender waist like a water snake, making people imagine a lot. Sea Lily was very beautiful. Compared with Linwana, she was more mature and charming, and her figure was well proportioned. Fan Ruoro's cleverness and cuteness, as well as her innocence and tenderness, all seemed a little eclipsed in front of this gorgeous queen. To be honest, it was the first time that Luo Wen saw her like this, a stunning beauty who was cold, sexy, noble, and natural. In the past, there was no one more attractive than her in other planes. However, in addition to making people instinctively eager to move, Luo Wen also saw a hint of black and white interweaving, a chaotic color. What is this? Key watching technique. Sure enough, behind her extremely beautiful and peerless face and noble and cold temperament, there are actually many black evil spirits and white good fortunes. What a complicated peerless enchantress. Meet His Royal Highness, please. The soul-stirring and magnetic charm, the faint fragrance on her body, makes people's heart beat faster. Oh, black gold plum blossom, Sea Lily, it is indeed fresh and refined. This is Mr. Fan. Oh, a salute with hands, a glance, and there are exclamations of surprise and admiration around. In Sea Lily's opinion, the poem is very good, and someone wants her to show up in person. These factors are mixed together, and she is also confused and curious. When she walks closer, this Fan-Zion Mr. Fan is really hard not to be yearning, and some feelings can't help but start to sprout. But she is not just a simple courtesan. Otherwise, meeting such a handsome man is also a very wonderful encounter. Mr. Fan, I'm here to show my respect. I have been wondering who could write such a poem. Now that I see you, I think I have found the reason. Haha, I like poems very much, and you look very nice too. Swish. It was not that Xiang wanted to be extremely charming, but her mind and body were out of her control. It was as if she was under some fatal attraction. Her breathing became heavier, her heartbeat accelerated, and even her eyes became tender. Well, you are too polite, young lady. Mr. Fan, do you want to go on a night tour of Liujing Lake with me? Luo Wen put away the ripples. He always kept a distance from people with complicated personalities. It was only because of the gazes of Prince Jing and the other people around him that he showed a spring breeze smile. He just wanted to stay away from this woman now, otherwise, trouble would come to him sooner or later. Hey, brother Fan, here is Miss C. Lily's card. A talented man and a beautiful woman are a good story. It seems that brother Fan is destined to spend the night on the boat. Half teasing, half joking, and a little envious, Li Hongcheng handed the fragrant card to Luo Wen's arms. This time, even if Luo Wen wanted to refuse, he knew it would be inappropriate. Otherwise, others would guess whether he had some unspeakable physical problems or some hidden disease. The lady invited me, and Fan Zion will gladly accept it. Mr. Lee, I will stay with you for a while. Oh, of course, brother Fan, this is Miss C. Lily's first time. You have to verify it carefully, okay? The Prince of Jing whispered softly, and C. Lily's earlobes opposite him turned red. Your uncle, why are you so wretched? You are not doing it on purpose. Chapter 427, Living in the Same Room. Wow, snap, Mr. Fan, you seem a little nervous. Isn't this the first time you've boarded a flower boat and the first time you've been in the same room with a woman? C. Lily giggled coquettishly and became more and more curious about the background of the handsome man in front of her. Why did those people pay so much attention to him? However, based on his looks and his literary talent, indeed, if it weren't for my duty, I might have been caught up in it and unable to extricate myself. Taking a pleasure boat, they boarded C. Lily's exclusive flower boat again from the shore. Luo Wen, who made all the men jealous and resentful, was taken to C. Lily's bedroom this time, and he was a little unsure. There was no romantic encounter that they envied, only a little nervousness and embarrassment as a virgin. Miss C. Lily, judging from your appearance, you are only 1 year older than me at most. Don't you feel nervous when you are in the same room with a man, or are you not afraid that I will do something inappropriate to you? Luo Wen knew that this woman understood his character and temperament when she saw him for the first time, and what he said now was just to make her more certain, and it would not let him gain the upper hand or initiative in the communication. Oh, haha, then Mr. Fan, would you do something inappropriate to others and want to do something? A charming look, and then a bold and passionate gaze, as if to deliberately create an ambiguous and hot atmosphere. After C. Lily returned to the room, she gently took off the gauze dress she was wearing, the proud figure, the groove on her chest, and the curves and fragrance that released charm everywhere. If it were an ordinary bloody boy, I'm afraid that the moment the maid closed the door, he would turn into a wolf and pounce directly. Miss C. Lily, you're joking. You know I can't. By the way, since we are lucky enough to meet in this vast sea of people, why don't we have a drink together? Oh, that's a pity. I was still thinking about it. But no matter. The night is long, and I also want to talk more with Master Fan and have a chat. The disappointment on her face and the regret in her heart. C. Lily herself didn't know whether it was true or false, but at least today, the first patron she met was a real gentleman. It's a pity that he is different from those men. No, he should be the same as those men. Gurgle, gurgle. Luo Wen did not look at C. Lily's pair of phoenix eyes that made people easily sink, but picked up the wine pot on the table and poured 2 glasses of Yulu wine, which was also produced by Xinghua Fang, and the price was 10 taels of silver per liter. I offer you a drink, please. Tonight I'm Master Fan's lover. Please be kind to me. Pa. Ha. The cup was empty. Although Luo Wen didn't like drinking, he couldn't stick to his hobby because the situation required it. His Master Fan, what's wrong with me? Swish. C. Lily lost control of her body and was about to fall to the ground with her eyes closed. Luo Wen took the lead and supported her with telekinesis. It was the same scene again. Luo Wen himself might not know that in the original play, Fan Zion took the initiative to invite Li Hongcheng to drink wine and spend the night on a boat in order to break off the engagement, ruining his reputation, so that Fan Zion and the princess would take back their decision. Here, C. Lily was also knocked down on the boat, and the most common drug was used. Of course, Luo Wen came here by accident. First, Fan Ruoro said that she would find a way to get the Prince of Jing to prove the alibi for brother Fan Zion. Then, He knocked down a prostitute and secretly went to Guo Baokan with Teng Zijing to seek revenge. All this was just because of the unexpected person Sila Li. And the Prince of Jing obviously came with his own personal purpose. Maybe it was the second prince behind him? Whoosh. Sila Li's delicate body was controlled by Luo Wen's telekinesis and moved horizontally to the bed. Behind the screen, Luo Wen sat on the bench without moving. In order to play the whole play, he picked up the wine pot and drank the jade dew in it directly. He also picked up the chopsticks and ate half of the exquisite side dishes on the table. Swish, 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 shh. With this figure, it's a pity not to participate in the beauty pageant. Tut tut tut. Her skin was as white as cream, and after drinking a glass of wine, it was now covered with a layer of beautiful red, and her frowning brows made her look more mature and charming, with a different kind of temptation. Luo Wen talked to himself, like a blind man touching an elephant, using telekinesis to mess up Silila's hair, and took off her shoes, and threw them beside the bed. Even her clothes on her chest and the hem of her skirt were deliberately torn a few times. Puff, puff. Miss Sila Li, I'm sorry, I don't want to treat you like this. It's just that we met at an inappropriate time today. Maybe you have your own difficulties behind it. Afraid that this queen would catch a cold, Luo Wen was kind enough to cover her with half of the quilt. I don't know what these people are thinking. Living on the water, if you get rheumatism and leg pain, it's hard to treat. Wow, snap, there are actually hidden masters near this flower boat. 1, 2, 3, 6 7th grade female swordsmen, and 4 male warriors 2 levels lower. A courtesan of Zuxianju should not need such a Gardler nope, right? Forget it. It's better to go and come back quickly. Don't let anyone find out. Swish. Crossing the river with a reed, Luo Wen's sleeves fluttered, and after a few leaps, he came to the shore dozens of feet away. Under the cover of the night, he quickly touched the alley outside Zuxianju. Brother Fan, here. Teng Zijing, who was wearing a nightgown, was carrying a cloth bag on his back. Inside was naturally the nightgown he had specially tailored for Fan Zun. Fortunately, it was just a long gown and a long coat, so he just wore it as a coat, and then covered his mouth and nose with a black scarf. Cough, cough. His Luo Wen's intention was just to seduce an ordinary brothel girl, and he strictly abided by the creed of gender differences. He did not use his mind to sense the differences inside Silila's body. The drug that could seduce an adult for 3 hours. This charming and beautiful courtesan actually covered her forehead and sat up with a dazed look. In just a moment, someone come. Wow, snap. Well, where is the person? No, he drugged me, but didn't touch me. These are obviously the traces he left on purpose. Do we need to send someone to follow him? No, our identities are too special. It's better to have less trouble than more. Go down. Sila Li frowned, and there was no trace of coquettishness or beauty at this time. There was only the coldness of a superior and the commanding tone in her voice. Touching the corner of the quilt covering her chest, Sila Li felt a little touched in her heart. This seemed to be the first time that a strange man who had just met once cared about her in this way. It was not until the man and woman suddenly appeared and walked out of the room, and Sila Li put down all her disguises, that she hugged her slender and straight legs, and her 2 plump breasts were squeezed and deformed. The spring scene in the room was exposed for a while, but she was indifferent. She just opened her big beautiful eyes and looked at the deliberately messed up scene in the room, lost in thought, and no one knew what she was thinking. Was she recalling the process of getting along with Fan Zun? Or was she thinking about her confused future? Or, she was imagining endlessly, if she was just an ordinary woman, would she have a lingering and unforgettable memory with a talented man like Fan Zun? Chapter 428, Wan Kinian is tested. Whoosh, chirp, chirp. The moon was in the sky, and insects were chirping. Rustle, rustle, breathing evenly, and walking without stopping. 8 bearers in short cloth clothes, with strong arms and legs, were carrying the sedan steadily, and were sending the young master inside to his home. Wow, snap. A whistling cold wind blew by, and an assassin in a masked nightgown stood in the middle. These bearers were just ordinary servants, not paid guards, so they were naturally scared and fled. As for their young master Guo Baokan, weren't they afraid of being held accountable by their master afterwards? They were not running away, but to save their lives and go home to inform the news. Yes, go home to inform the news. Otherwise, even if the young master died, I'm afraid no one would know. Well, what's the matter? Are we here so soon? Hiccup. The rustling sound of the sedan being lowered awakened Luo Wen, who was dazed and drunk. He had lost the poetry contest in the daytime, which led to a barrage of scolding from His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, which made him feel very unhappy. As a result, he went to the Liujing River to drink wine and find someone to relieve his worries. He even heard that Lily, the courtesan of Zuxianju, took the initiative to come ashore and invite people to board her flower boat. The beauty didn't see him, and his career was not going well, so why not drink until he was drunk? That's not right. There were dark streets on both sides, and people were splashing foot washing water on the ground. It was pitch black. How could this be his own residence, the Guo mansion, with bright lights and a group of servants and beautiful maids? Wow. Before Luo Wen could finish rubbing his eyes or running forward, a black bag fell from the sky and was directly put on his head. The more he struggled, the tighter it became. Who? Do you know who the young master is? How dare you sneak attack me? If I knew your true face, I would teach you a lesson. Bang, snap, whoosh, it hurts, it hurts. Who are you? Tell me your name, if you have the guts, you cowardly bandit, despised by everyone. Fists rained down like raindrops, and heavy kicks came out with hatred. Although Teng Zijing did not kill this enemy who destroyed the family with a knife directly according to Luo Wen's instructions, his hands and feet were full of strength, and he just buried his head and beat him to death. Who? If you have the guts, show your face. It's me, the young master. In the first few breaths, Luo Wen was still able to cry out in pain, and kept shouting. He was just short of reporting the name of his biological father. After that, he was just a piece of rotten meat, motionless, just groaning on the spot. Do you still remember Teng Zijing? I don't remember. Bang. I remember. There was such a person. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. Did you order your men to kill his entire family? Didn't Teng Zijing die and how? What does his family's life and death have to do with me? Who are you? Bang bang bang. Oh, wrong. Hero, please spare my life. Who am I? Guess. Luo Wen was responsible for questioning, and Teng Zijing was responsible for beating him. Of course, Luo Wen had read the Wielding number 534 document, and knew that Teng Zijing's wife and children were not dead. The reason he came here this time was just to lure Wan Qinyan out. At the same time, it was also to let Teng Zijing avenge the old injustice he suffered. Ouch. Stop hitting me. Wait, I know. Are you Teng Zijing? Or his family or friend? But his death has nothing to do with me. If you want revenge, you should go to Fan Zan. He killed Teng Zijing. It's none of my business. Woo, man, spare my life. I think it's really not him. Luo Wen, who was thrown in the middle of the street, didn't even have the strength to stand up at this time. Whether he lived or died depended on his own luck. And Luo Wen waved his hand, and Teng Zijing left the crime scene with him. But, if it wasn't him, who would kill my wife and children? Creak. Luo Wen unbuttoned his nightgown, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised. The fish following them from a distance seemed to have been hooked. The Inspection Institute's mistakes are so flawed. Why did you go to Danzhou alone to assassinate, and why did someone want to kill your entire family? Don't you think there are too many clues? But how could the Inspection Institute's secret files be forged? Yes, some people's methods are beyond my imagination. But, since I'm already dead, why do they want to kill me? Teng Zijing, who was in great pain, was already crying at this time. The beating he just had didn't make him feel any better. Click, the sound of tiles being broken was particularly abrupt in this silent street. Who is standing there? Come out. Teng Zijing suppressed the endless grief and indignation in his heart, drew out the short blade at his waist, and instinctively blocked it in front of Luo Wen. As for whether Luo Wen needed his protection or not, it didn't matter at all. Haha, Teng Zijing, I didn't expect it was really you. I thought I had run into a ghost along the way. Whoosh haha, Master Fan, we meet again. Wan Kinyan, you are careless. With your lightness skills, there shouldn't be any noise. Tell me, why are you following us? Luo Wen looked at the respectful Wan Kinyan in front of him and threw his night clothes into the trash can beside him without a care. Haha, I'm not affected by Lord Fan's outstanding demeanor. Oh, actually I came here today to tell Teng Zijing a good news. Wan Kinyan didn't expect Fan Ziyan to cooperate with Teng Zijing secretly, and he didn't expect that the killer sent by the Inspection Institute would become friends with the target, and even took the risk to claim that he killed Teng Zijing, but secretly the two of them were looking for the mastermind behind the scenes together. Fortunately, he was also cautious. Although he forged the case file, he also secretly waited outside the door of Fan Mansion. Sure enough, the young man who sneaked out of the mansion was the dead Teng Zijing. He met Fan Ziyan by the Liujing River and tortured Guo Baokan together afterwards. He remembered it clearly. Otherwise, he really didn't dare to show up. Good news? What do you mean? Teng asked himself. That I had no contact with you before, let alone friendship. What good news can you tell me? Is it impossible? But what if it is true? Your wife and children have not been killed. They live outside the city. Don't believe it? If you don't believe it, I will take you to see it now. What? Really? You didn't lie to me? After losing his loved ones, Teng Zijing finally understood the meaning of his life. Living for his family is no longer the so-called family, country and the world, putting the country and the world first. So Brother Wang is very wary of me, and even the case file he gave me is the version that was temporarily copied and modified yesterday. Hiss. This, Master Fan, I think I have been very careful, and I also used an old blank scroll. Today in your house, I didn't find anything unusual that you noticed. This, Master Fan, where did I show my flaws? Can you tell me, so that I can work hard to correct it? Wan Kinyan is a diligent and motivated man who knows shame and then becomes brave. Yesterday in the Inspection Institute, I saw the case files on the shelf. They were clear at a glance and in clear order. But when you heard my request to retrieve the Dingxi 534 file, your first reaction was not to execute the order, but to shirk it. Are these 2 points enough? This, Luo Wen didn't finish his words, and naturally he wouldn't tell him directly that he had divine thoughts, magic and supernatural powers. Wan Kinyan was also reluctant to listen, but he didn't expect that Fan Ziyan would observe so carefully in just a few glances. The key is that he could detect the abnormality based on the reaction of one person. Isn't this too smart and wise? I admire your talent, sir. Alas, young people nowadays are more terrifying than each other. Well, let's go outside the city first and make sure Teng Zijing's wife and children are safe. Then we can talk in detail. What do you think, sir? Of course, and I didn't expect that Brother Wang is such a kind-hearted person. Haha, I'm ashamed. I don't deserve the praise from Sir Fan. Chapter 429, Respected. Outside Kyoto, in a small wood not far from the official road. There is no village here, but it is not far from the city and close to the official road. Although there is no land to cultivate, it is self-sufficient by planting a few rows of vegetables and raising some chickens and ducks. The living environment is also acceptable. There are several scattered small wooden houses, surrounded by a circle of more than 4 feet of fences. There are several rice jars and sacks in the granary, and there are vegetable sellers on the ground. Obviously, there must be someone secretly providing material support for this suburban residence, otherwise it would not be so peaceful. There are also 2 yellow candle lanterns hanging at the door. Knock, knock, who is it? It's too late. Sorry for the inconvenience. Please come back tomorrow morning. My wife, it's me. Plop. The person inside seemed to have jumped off the bed barefoot. Creak. A woman with long hair and a pretty face opened the door with an unbelievable look, and they were speechless, with only the sorrow and joy of reunion after a long separation. Wow, they all said you were dead. I thought you were dead. Wow, I thought I would never see you again. I'm not dead. I'm not dead. I'm back. The reunion of relatives, endless longing and tenderness. Even Teng Zijing, who has always been steady and prudent, burst into tears. Creak, creak. The couple in the house are whispering to each other about their longing for each other, or perhaps they are reuniting as a family to share the joy. Luo Wen, standing in the small courtyard, just glanced around calmly, estimating that this residential building was built quite a long time ago. Many parts were already decayed and dilapidated, and it was only in the last 2 months that someone renovated it. It seemed that Teng Zijing's wife and children had moved in not long ago, and Wang Qinian should have taken time to come here from time to time, otherwise orphans and widows would not be able to live so easily. Wang Qinian was also very familiar with this place. He took a breath and galloped over from the city. As for Wei Fanzan remained calm and did not breathe. He didn't know. He just felt hot all over and dry in the mouth. He picked up the bucket beside the well, shook a bucket of water, and brought it up. He also took two coarse pottery bowls from the utility room on the side. He rinsed them with water twice and drank 3 bowls from the bucket. It's delicious. Master Fan, why don't you have a bowl too? The spring water is cool and sweet, and it's refreshing and moisturizing. It doesn't cost money anyway. Money, money, money. Wang Qinian is kind-hearted, but he is obsessed with money. I don't know if he is deliberately showing weakness to others, or is he really obsessed with money? Oh, he almost regarded himself as a god among gods, who has no desires. Luo Wen suddenly woke up from his superior state. He was just a mortal who coveted perception and various powers. How could he look down on his former self? Okay, I'm a little thirsty too. Since you don't want any money, just give me a bowl too. Oh, haha. At this time, Luo Wen put aside his detached temperament, which made Wang Qinian see him more clearly. Moreover, because of these 2 sentences he said, the distance between them seemed to be shortened invisibly. Wow, come on, fellow travelers. It's good that Lord Fan doesn't mind. Haha. Gurgle, gurgle. Well, indeed, the water is clear and cool, and the water quality is not bad. When Luo Wen was drinking, Wang Qinian reached into his arms and took out a piece of white paper. Haha, Lord, since Teng Zijing is now with you, I have arranged his wife and children here. I'm ashamed. It's just that I spent 123 taels for this house. This is the land deed. Lord Fan, can you tell me the price and make it up to 130 taels? Burp. Luo Wen would be embarrassed if he could still choke while drinking water. He drank it all in one gulp and put the bowl aside. Sure, Brother Wang, you have both decimals and whole numbers. You are not kidding me, right? Just a few houses in the wilderness cost 123 taels? That's not right. Last time at the city gate, Fanzan gave Fanzan 100 taels for a map. Why is he being so picky this time, even though he reported more than half more? Teng Zijing and I are friends. He doesn't like to owe people too much. These are his wife and children. It's natural that he should pay you back. You should go ask him for it. Luo Wen waved his hand. He has always distinguished between public and private. Even if he is generous, he still has to see whether others are willing to accept it, right? How could he, a dead man with sealed files, have extra money? Otherwise, I wouldn't have been sending things here for so many days. This is a loss. No one reimbursed the money for buying the land. Wang Qinian's face suddenly looked as ugly as if he had died. It was just that cunning in his eyes, but Luo Wen saw it clearly. Wang Qinian didn't think he had made a loss, but felt that his plan was successful, and was secretly happy. Brother Fan, you are the benefactor of my husband and me. I can't repay you in this life. I can only repay you by working like a cow or a horse in the next life. Just after midnight, Teng Zijing finally settled his wife in the house. He came out of the door in high spirits. Obviously, in his heart, he owed his wife and children too much, but he couldn't ignore the benefactor outside the door. Get up. I did only what a friend should do. A friend? Brother Fan, yes, although you and I have always called each other brothers and friends, you and I should know very well in our hearts that you are the son of Sinanbo, and your personal martial arts are far superior to mine. I, Teng Zijing, am just a martial artist, an assassin who is used and overestimates his own abilities. How can I deserve the word friend in your mouth? Oh, is this self-deprecation and a mental disorder? Luo Wen helped Teng Zijing up from the ground, but the sincerity in his eyes did not diminish at all. That's right, Some people are born unequal, the high and mighty royal family, and some are just like the grass and grass that no one cares about. I once had a dream there. Everyone is equal, regardless of gender, regardless of blood. The society is stable. There is rule of law everywhere. Everyone has the right to pursue dreams, freedom, and happiness. The perfect world described by Luo Wen is like a fairyland, a paradise on earth. Not to mention that Teng Zijing was fascinated by what he heard. Even Wang Qinian seemed to have forgotten his origins and identity, and was immersed in it with a face full of yearning. Born equal, everyone is like a dragon. Brother Wang, you are in the Inspection Institute every day. Haven't you carefully read the stone tablet erected when the institute was founded? Yes, Yi Qingmei is my mother. I think her philosophy coincides with my pursuit. This world has long been filthy and has been controlled by powerful people who are obsessed with profit for too long. I want to start with myself, treat every relative and friend around me well, and treat everyone I know with an attitude of born equal, such as Brother Wang and Brother Teng. Brother Fan, I have learned a lot. Lord Fan has lofty ideals, and I admire him deeply. I have no regrets in my life to know such a hero as Lord Fan. If you have any mission in the future, I will serve you wholeheartedly. Chapter 439 Talk in Kyoto. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. It was the darkest time before dawn. Luo Wen stretched lazily, ignoring the gazes in the dark night and the spies who thought they were well hidden. He flew from the river to see Lila's flower boat, acting like an ordinary sneaky person. He didn't need to use any magic or spiritual power, but only relied on his extremely powerful intuition and his body perception that was suppressed and suppressed again. Luo Wen certainly knew that his whereabouts had long been seen by many interested people, and this was exactly what he wanted to see. If he didn't stir up the pond, how could he force out those experienced big fish? Ta-ta, ta-ta. Footsteps were hitting the deck. The warriors hiding around had all moved away from the flower boat, as if they just happened to be too close to it. In the room, the gorgeous woman was breathing steadily, just like when Luo Wen left. Even the quilt on her body was restored to its original state. Original state? The torn dress, the messy cups and plates, the crooked embroidered shoes, and even the messy hair seemed normal, but these were undoubtedly the biggest abnormalities. The drug was not a fixation technique, and was not as effective as an anesthetic. It just made people's consciousness fall into a coma, and the body's instincts were not actually affected. In short, she shouldn't be so normal. Even the most obedient sleeper will subconsciously stretch his hands and feet. If he is not obedient, he will hold the quilt, lie on his stomach, turn around, change direction. Everything is possible. The most impossible thing is like now, there is no change, or the change is very slight, as if it is deliberately restored, but there is always a slight difference. Wow, click, Miss C. Lily, Miss C. Lily? Luo Wen pushed open the door and called her name softly, but she had no expression on her face, as if she was still sleeping. But, dong dong, the rhythm of her heartbeat was messed up. Under Luo Wen's hearing, all changes were visible. If Luo Wen released the suppression of the 5 senses of the body, even the blood flow in the human body, the growth of bones, and the odor molecules in the breath, Luo Wen could analyze them clearly. But that kind of scene was too uncomfortable. Luo Wen did not want to live in such a clear environment without necessity. Oh, then it seems that it's good that she didn't wake up. I was so anxious to rush back. I was really worried for nothing. Boom, boom, boom. The rhythm of my heartbeat changed again, as if it was quietly relieved, slowing down and calming down. Her hair was disheveled, her skin was pink and attractive, and her towering chest made people's blood boil. It was a pity that she was a thorny rose with many secrets. Although she was beautiful, Luo Wen didn't want to be stained with too much, and have too much contact with her. Miss C. Lily, although I know you may not like these vulgar things, it's not good to let you suffer from the disaster tonight. These silver notes are just a token of my gratitude. Please don't blame me. This person, his eyelashes moved slightly. C. Lily could feel that Fan Zan was sitting at the table outside the screen, and didn't walk in directly. But, knowing that I was in a coma, why did he say it out loud? Could it be that he had such a problem of talking to himself, or did he know that I was pretending to sleep? Dong dong, dong dong. With the complex changes in emotions, the rhythm of the heartbeat became intense again. By the way, Miss C. Lily, I took advantage of you today after all. Fan Zion, owe you one. If you have any trouble in the future, you can come to me with this jade talisman. I will definitely help you once. Remember, Luo Wen put down 2 silver notes of 500 teals. It was probably not in line with her worth, but he didn't do anything. 1,000 teals was not a small amount. He was still reluctant to part with it. Looking at the room again, there were indeed pens, inkstones, and paper. However, they met by chance, so there was no need to leave poems and cause trouble. He put down a Panlang jade talisman and let it go. Wow, click, I'll take my leave now. Take care, young lady. From the moment he walked into the room, muttering to himself and leaving a few words of instructions, to the moment the sound of Luo Wen's footsteps disappeared from his ears, after dozens of breaths, C. Lily's eyelids moved, and she woke up directly with a look of movement. Rustling, putting on a complete coat and shoes, C. Lily walked from the bed to the round table outside the screen. Oh, man, but what is the meaning of him leaving? This jade talisman? Gratitude, like, apology. Seeing the silver note pressed by the crystal clear jade talisman, C. Lily's eyes revealed a trace of disdain. She stretched out her slender jade hand and picked up the jade talisman directly, which was warm and comfortable to the touch. This is crystal. No, it is actually the finest purple jadeite. His C. Lily really didn't like the silver note of 1,000 teals, but this extremely delicate and exquisitely carved jade talisman, and the words "I will definitely help," especially the breath of that person on her fingertips. C. Lily suddenly felt affection at this moment. Her face changed color, and she became charming and moving, but it was a pity that no one, except herself, could appreciate such a beautiful scenery. Oh, I don't know which family raised the rooster, but it crowed in the morning light, followed by a chorus. The darkness before dawn was gradually dissipating, and the breakfast stalls on the street, as well as those farmers who were in a hurry to deliver all vegetables, had already started to work quietly on the street. Isn't this how the lower class people live day after day, year after year? Wow. Li Hangcheng, who stayed on the flower boat, just found a decent courtesan and listened to the ancient music of the zither for half a night, and his main energy was on C. Lily's flower boat outside the window. Your Highness, His Royal Highness the Second Prince is waiting for you at the breakfast shop on the street. Oh, I'll be there right away. It was another deserted side street, and the hustle and bustle seemed to be blocked by the guards outside the street. Li Hangcheng forced himself to be alert, dressed neatly, used clean water to dispel the fatigue on his face, and hurried out of Zuxianju. Well, yes, fresh meat buns in the morning are indeed more delicious than those in the daytime. Russell, greetings, Your Highness. Hey, brothers, why must you be so polite? Come and sit down. This is the tofu pudding and meat buns I prepared for you. I know you like sweet food, so I specially added 2 spoons of sugar for you. Oh, thank you. I'll be polite then. Did Fan Zion do anything unusual last night? Oh, he went out before midnight and didn't come back until dawn. He didn't stay for long and left alone again. I guess he went back home. I don't know what he did during the time he disappeared late at night. Li Hangcheng kept working while telling the second prince about Fan Zion's whereabouts. Thank you for your hard work. Just let your subordinates handle these things. Why do you have to do it yourself? I know your efforts. In addition to the identities of monarch and subject, the second prince and Li Hangcheng also have the affection of blood cousins. Of course, Prince Jing chose the second prince and was willing to be his right-hand man on weekdays, of course, for his own future plans. It was not until the second prince patted Li Hangcheng's shoulder affectionately with his palm that Prince Jing felt moved and felt that his efforts were not in vain. Fan Zion went out late at night for revenge. Revenge? Oh, to be more precise, it should be to help someone take revenge. Last night, Fan Zion and others beat Guo Baokan up and threw him on the street. They hit him hard. Guo Baokan is now seriously injured and dying. Guo Yaozi just invited the imperial physician back to the palace. I don't know if that kid is lucky enough. Hiss. So serious. Guo Baokan is the son of the Minister of Rights. Fan Zion is the son of the Vice Minister of the Ministry of Revenue, and he is also an illegitimate child. Is he trying to save his life? Then this matter. Isn't it a big deal? Of course. Let's see how Fan Zion responds next. Chapter 431. The shackles clattered, but the officials from Kyoto Prefecture did not dare to act rashly in front of this noble lady, who was quietly drinking tea, and was cold and arrogant. In the eyes of ordinary people, they were naturally showing off their power, calling her sir on the left and official on the right. But in front of the real powerful people, they were just small people begging for mercy. Madam Fan, we are here to do our duty. Please give us a favor. The young captain in the lead bowed respectfully. Even though the beautiful woman in front of him was very pleasing to the eye, he did not dare to look at her too much. So, you are here to find Fan Zion? Ha, click, every move. Couldn't it be the demeanor of mistress of a family? After Liu Ruiyu put down her teacup, she responded to the person in front of her, but the impoliteness in her tone made anyone with a discerning eye know that she was afraid she would not cooperate with them. Oh, madam, we have no other choice. Someone has accused him of murder. TSK, he's not here. Madam, this is an order from the prefect himself. Oh, then you should go and find him quickly. If it's convenient for you, please let us search the inner house. Just take a look. It's not convenient. No, madam, we are really just following orders. Someone, show him out. Alas, madam, excuse me. As soon as the words fell, the reluctant blue-clothed Yaman runners were about to go back to the prefect to find another solution. Creak, creak, you are here to look for me so early in the morning? Luo Wen was clear-headed and had no effect on him, whether he slept or not. He just went back to the courtyard to change his clothes. When he heard a maid report that the second aunt was sending away the officials in the hall, he put down his work and came over himself. He is Fan Zion. Go, catch him. Luo Wen's extraordinariness surprised the captain on duty, but he was duty bound and could not care less. He still had to arrest this man and report back to the prefect. Wow, who dares? Get out of the way, here comes General Fan. He spoke in a dramatic tone, waving a bamboo broom used to sweep the yard. Fancies rushed out directly from the back hall, full of vigor and energy, with a bit of the tiger strength of a silly boy. Snap, snap, get out. While slapping in the air, he drove a group of officials who were about to catch Luo Wen away. It was not that Fancies was a big threat, but mainly because of his identity. He was the legitimate son of Fan Zion, the assistant minister of the Ministry of Revenue. He was not someone that these unranked and ungraded Yaman runners could offend. Stop it. I'll go with them. Luo Wen was quite touched by the sincere protection of Fancies and his second aunt Liu Ruiyu, but he was not good at expressing his feelings, so he had to keep it in mind and slowly return the favor to them in the future. Swish, Zana, what are you doing? Why are you going with them for something we haven't done? Fancies turned around and looked at his brother in disbelief. How could he take the initiative to go to Kyoto Prefecture for trial? Liu Ruiyu stood up suddenly, walked in front of Luo Wen in a few steps, stretched out her hand, and grabbed Luo Wen's palm directly. The restraint and concern in her eyes were also sincere. Thank you, auntie and brother, for your generosity. I know what's going on. What's the harm in going? Say hello to Father and Ruoro. Don't worry about me. I'll be back soon. Let's go. I'll go with you, but we'd better not wear the shackles. Oh, of course. Thank you, Master Fan, for your cooperation. We are also forced to do so. Please forgive us. Let's go. The young class leader waved his hand, and Luo Wen was surrounded by them, and walked directly to the door of the Fan Mansion. Standing behind them, there were also the servants and maids of the Fan Mansion who surrounded them. They were worried and nervous, fearing that Master Fan Zion, who had just arrived at the Fan Mansion, would encounter an accident. Although he looked relaxed, this was Kyoto after all, and he would have to go to court. What if he was beaten with a stick and hurt himself? Mom, what's wrong with my brother? Why does he insist on bumping into it? We are here to stop him, so these little bastards won't dare to do anything to us. Why is Zana so confused? Does he think that the governor of Kyoto also values him as much as the master does? Let's have a good talk with him. If he goes to court, no matter what, he'll be beaten with a stick. With his delicate skin and flesh, he'll be half dead, right? Quick, prepare the carriage for me. I want to go to the palace. Wow, what's going on? I heard that the young master of the Fan family beat up the young master of the Guo family? Yes, and I heard that he was beaten badly when he was carried in just now. His body was wrapped in gauze, and even his eyes were swollen and scary. The bustling gate of Kyoto Prefecture was now surrounded by people. They were probably irrelevant people who were bored, or they might be Theophside support arranged by people with ulterior motives. If you want to make something known to everyone, you naturally need a lot of people to talk. Make way, make way, make way. The Yamen runners escorted Luo Wen into the lobby with a rustling sound, and the onlookers were instantly shocked. Oh my god, how could such a handsome young man be so violent? Yeah, he doesn't look like a martial artist with a slender figure. He looks like a scholar with a lot of literary talent. Besides, with his gentlemanly and open-minded appearance, how could he be a murderer who beat people into such a miserable state? Amidst the gossip, Luo Wen was also led to the solemn lobby with blue bricks and red paint. However, in addition to the tall Hizangli, there was only a mummy lying on the wooden board. If it weren't for the breath still breathing from the nostrils above, and the two swollen and black eyeballs in the eye position bulging, Luo Wen would have thought it was a newly made mummy model at a glance. Squeak, squeak, bright red nails, bright red lips, coupled with a beautiful and refined face, and an unattainable royal temperament. Such a woman is rare in the world, and she looks only about 30 years old, gently peeling the orange peel in her hand. Oranges, shouldn't they bear fruit in late autumn? Why? This is not the main world, where Luo Wen is. Who knows if the climate is abnormal, or if this plant similar to orange has mutated. It will bear fruit in August. Who can do anything about it? Within the high walls of the imperial city, Guangxin Palace, which has always been rarely visited by outsiders, is owned by Luo Wen's mother-in-law in the near future, and Lin Wana's biological mother, Princess Li Yunru of King. According to her age, she should be at least 40 years old. Maybe it is because of her natural beauty and proper maintenance that she looks elegant and luxurious, with skin as tight as a young woman in her 30s. Your Highness, Guo Baokan has been your disciple for a long time. You will not stand idly by in this case between him and Fan Zion, right? The clear and beautiful voice, except for some inexplicable coldness, sounds very enjoyable. The laws of Kyoto Prefecture are strict. It makes no difference whether I go or not. Oh, really? The prince's personal visit will make a big difference. If Fan Zion can be convicted, perhaps his majesty will not let Wana marry him. At that time, the financial power of the inner treasury will still belong to the prince. If you don't go, I'm afraid you will disappoint your subordinates. The uneven ugly orange and the pair of white and delicate jade hands formed a strong contrast. Looking at the peeled ugly orange in front of him, there was a trace of crazy desire in the deepest part of the prince's eyes. Since my aunt said so, I will go. The prince raised his head, stood up from the cushion, bowed slightly with a calm face, turned around and walked out of the palace, behaving very well behaved and sensible. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 432, Court Part 2. Oh, woo. Hissy inhaled and moaned softly. Luo Wen couldn't help laughing when he looked at Guo Baokan. But he deserved it. He was only seriously injured and couldn't move. If Luo Wen had done it himself, he would have blown the ashes all over the street. Born in a rich family, enjoying endless food and clothing, being able to order servants and maids around for anything, having everything provided for him, wouldn't life be wonderful if he knew how to cherish such a good life? Unfortunately, people's hearts are never easy to satisfy, and Luo Wen himself is no exception. But he has principles and bottom lines. At least he won't easily have conflicts with irrelevant people. If it's not necessary, he is not even willing to take the initiative to punish those who do evil. But Guo Baokan is a man who beats people to death just because their clothes are soiled. Someone showed up to help him and used his connections to convict him of the crime of assassinating an imperial official. His family was confiscated and his family was exterminated. He is arrogant and domineering, and he does all kinds of evil. This is really intolerable. Moreover, this is just the grudge between Teng Zijing and Jiuo Baoken. Even if Luo Wen heard Teng Zijing's confession, he did not say that he was angry with Jiuo Baoken, whom he had never met, and set out to kill him to vent his anger. Instead, he was aroused by the bad performance of this kid in front of Yishiju. When he went to the poetry meeting held by the Prince of Jing, he dared to ask him to kowtow and apologize, and was killed by thunder on the spot. Luo Wen was not soft-hearted at all. Last night, when he saw Teng Zijing punching and kicking him, Luo Wen did not join in, which was a great favor. It was because he saw the temple girl and did not want to do anything extreme, so he suppressed the anger in his chest and restrained his thunderous means. Luo Wen stood quietly in the lobby without saying a word. After looking at Jiuo Baoken, he closed his eyes to rest. He didn't want to pay attention to He Zongluo's provocation and the concerned eyes cast from all around. Cough, cough, cough. At this moment, a burst of thick phlegm that could not be coughed up, and the sound of weak and feeble footsteps came from the back hall, and the 50-year-old man in official uniform and goatee walked through the hall with a serious face, and sat down in the main seat. Measly, the prefect of Kyoto, was not applauded for his conduct as a person and an official, but he has always been conscientious, and did not dare to slack off, especially in Kyoto, where various forces are entrenched. There are many royal relatives, and there are many dignitaries, and the civilian population is close to 1 million. Maintaining public order and arresting bandits, he can be regarded as a rare clean official who benefits the people. However, as he got older, he began to think more about playing both sides. When handling cases, he was no longer as fair and impartial as he was when he was young. Instead, he paid special attention to the implications behind the scenes, fearing that he would end up with a bad end. Bang, mighty. The gavel sounded, and after 3 mighty sounds, to shock the little guy, Measly raised his eyes to the 2 scholars standing in the hall, and then glanced at the injured who looked miserable. Could this be the son of Minister Jiuo? It's really a bit miserable. Hiss, these 2 young men are more handsome than each other, especially the one on the left. How come he is still calm under the gavel, without even moving his eyelids? He has an extraordinary character and extraordinary momentum. Could he be the Fanzian from Danzhou, who is standing in the hall? Oh, my student He Zongli, the lawyer for the plaintiff. He Zongli is really versatile. That's right, as a family member, Jiuo Baoken's biological father is certainly not suitable to come here to sue. It would be perfect to find a scholar who understands the laws of king and wants to climb up the social ladder. I'm Fanzian, and I'm honored to meet you, sir. Fanzian, do you admit your guilt? Now that he knew who was the plaintiff and who was a defendant, Measly followed the rules and started to judge the case directly. I wonder what crime I have committed. Come on, show him the plaintiff's complaint. Yes, sir. The clerk at the side stepped forward and pulled out a piece of paper from the desk. The Yamen runner with a big knife on his waist, chest out and stomach in, took it and handed it to Luo Wen. Luo Wen read 10 lines at a glance, pretending to spend some more time, and then returned the complaint to the Yamen runner. It says here that I beat Mr. Jiuo Baoken, but there are neither witnesses nor physical evidence. It just says that I have many conflicts with him. This seems a bit too arbitrary, right? Plaintiff. Humph, the net of heaven is vast and nothing can escape it. Mr. Jiuo survived a great disaster just to go to court to testify against this hypocritical and despicable villain. Although you covered Mr. Jiuo's head and attacked him in the dark, he remembers your voice. Sir, such a villain. Please use severe punishment. Fourth. It's him. At this time, Jiuo Baoken, whose mouth was wrapped in gauze, actually shouted at the top of his lungs. It seems that, after waking up from the serious injury and coma, he finally remembered the voice of the person who asked him questions. Oh, Mr. Jiuo, you remember that it was my voice, but how can you prove that it was me who hit you, based on your words alone? I have a grudge against you. We had a conflict in the street. This matter has already spread throughout Kyoto. Now you are being beaten. If you say it was me, it's me. If I say it wasn't me, won't it be entangled forever? You, Mr. Guo, don't be upset. I'm responsible for everything. Humph, of course we know that you can deny all these, but how can you prove your whereabouts and that you didn't have time to commit the crime against Mr. Guo? Shouldn't it be that whoever provides evidence should report to the police? Why do I have to prove my innocence myself? Defendant, where were you between midnight and 11 AM yesterday? Sir, I was on a flower boat on the bank of Liujing River yesterday. Perhaps Prince Jingli Hongcheng and Miss Sila Li from Zuxianju can testify for me. That's it. Luo Wen always felt that there must be something hidden behind these two people. Why not drag them in and try it out? Why is Prince Jing involved? Sir, please call the witness. The minister also attaches great importance to it. I beg you to handle the case carefully. Alas, a higher ranking official can crush a person. The most important thing is that the Minister of Rights has many disciples and their power is intertwined and cannot be easily offended. Did you hear me? Go and invite the witness. Yes. The Yamen runner with a bitter face was really in trouble today. First, the Fan Mansion was almost kicked out, and now he has to invite the more honorable prince. Alas, once you enter the public office, it's like a deep sea. Fan Zion is in the government office in Kyoto and is relatively safe now. However, Fancies and Fan Ruoruo, who are in the Fan Mansion, are anxious like ants on a hot pot, scratching their heads and not knowing what to do. One of them gathered his sisters and held a reading tea party in his yard, preparing to save the country in a roundabout way, starting with the backyard families of various adults. Liu Ruiu entered the palace, not knowing whether to find Fan Jian or one of her relatives for help. But more than half an hour has passed, and there is still no news. My lord, the people are here. Greetings to His Royal Highness. I'm sorry for the impoliteness. Greetings to His Royal Highness. In the government office, the chief judge easily did not put on airs, and hurriedly stood up to greet him. The Yamen runners and Izangwei bowed and saluted. The country and the world are not just a joke. The King Kingdom is now surnamed Li, so anyone with royal blood is the object of loyalty and respect of the people and ministers. Only Luo Wen looked at Sea Lily with an apologetic look. In the bright daylight, she looked more real and gorgeous, but less charming and coquettish. That's right, this was in the court, in front of everyone. As the most beautiful woman in Zuxianju, she had to abide by the etiquette and national laws. How could she be frivolous and coquettish? Greetings, sir. Sea Lily, with a cold face, saw the handsome boy with an apologetic look, but she lowered her head and pretended to be disdainful, just suppressing a trace of joy in her heart. It seems that the more sensitive people are, or the two extremes of extreme beauty and ugliness, they will have an instinctive intuition that ordinary people don't have. For those beautiful things or people, they naturally have an instinctive like or dislike. Zhonghui is jealous to the point of madness, while Sea Lily is just the opposite. It's really strange. Sir, last night Brother Fan and I met by the Liujing River, and we indeed drank and talked until late at night. Later, Miss Sea Lily invited Brother Fan to go boating on the lake. I don't know what happened afterwards. Li Hongcheng regained his calm expression, and now standing in the court, he was telling the truth. However, even though he knew that Fan Zion and others went to beat Guo Baokan, he didn't know why he didn't take the initiative to expose it. Oh, sir, what His Royal Highness said only proves one thing, that is, Fan Zion's whereabouts. He was only in Zuxianju in the first half of the night, and only Miss Sea Lily knew about it in the second half of the night. Zuxianju is only more than 200 feet away from the scene of the crime. With Fan Zion's skills, he can go back and forth several times in a moment without being discovered. So, I would like to ask Miss Sea Lily, were you and Fan Zion together all the time last night, and did not leave for a moment? Zhonghui still has some quick wit. At least when someone behind him provides evidence and clues, he directly points all the spearheads to the still calm Fan Zion. He still has this ability. Yes, Mr. Fan was in my room all night last night, and did not leave for a moment. How could he easily miss such a spring night? He left until the dawn at the hour of Mao. Why is this Sea Lily? Luo Wen was a little surprised. Seeing the springy charm on her face, it was as if he had really done something to her yesterday, and she was still unsatisfied. But it didn't make sense. Could it be that handsome could really do whatever he wanted? Well, since there is a witness, then there must be another hidden story in Fan Zion's attack on Mr. Guo. Then this case ends here. My lord, the crown prince has arrived. Chapter 433. The prince appears. Master, what should we do now? Ziona is still on trial in Kyoto Prefecture. It's not surprising that Liu Ruiyu couldn't think of a solution in the palace. She was just a woman, and the relatives she knew were only concubines and the harem. How could she dare to interfere in the harem's politics and directly affect the trial in Kyoto Prefecture? The Emperor King in the court and the Empress Dowager in the harem were both people who would not tolerate any grain of sand in their eyes. Whoever dared to act rashly would lose his life. However, Fan Jian was also a little puzzled. The court was dismissed early today, and the second wife in the family rushed to the Ministry of Households to find him. It turned out to be for Fan Zion, his illegitimate son who had nothing to do with him. Why? His face was full of worry and anxiety, which could not be faked. It was as if his own son Francis was captured. When did Fan Zion become so close to her? Well, I already know that Fan Zion was accused by the Guo family of beating Guo Baokan. Don't worry about it. The right and wrong will be judged by Lord Maisily, the governor of Kyoto. We, the family members, should not get involved. But, don't you have many disagreements with Fan Zion, and you can't bear to see him come to Kyoto? Why are you running around for him today? Fan Jian couldn't help but ask, and Liu Ruiyu, who had an anxious look in her eyes, was suddenly stunned when she heard Fan Jian's question. Yes, why would she work so hard for an illegitimate child who she should have hated? Was it Fan Zion's gentle and elegant demeanor, his sincere attitude, or his generosity and carefulness after he came to the Fan mansion, not fighting or competing, and considering family harmony in everything? This Ziona is from my Fan mansion. He always calls me his aunt, and is very filial to us. He treats Francis like his own brother. Isn't that enough? I'm not a heartless person. Although I used to be suspicious and wary of him, Fan Zion is a good boy. Of course, I can't bear to see him suffer in Kyoto. Haha, so, Liu Ruiyu has obviously accepted Fan Zion in her heart, and regarded him as her own family? Fan Jian was very pleased, and at the same time, he was satisfied with his own efforts. The future of the Fan family will only fall into the hands of Francis. Although he is smart, he has little experience. His understanding of the world and the overall situation are not enough to shoulder the future of the Fan family. He is like a child who is protected too well. Fortunately, Fan Zion can teach him. Okay, we don't need to worry about Fan Zion's calculations. The current situation of the Jingdu government office is unclear, and the forces involved are even more complicated. Let's wait and see. When those big shots appear, we can judge the situation and mediate for him. There was a rustling sound, and the footsteps were heavy. The canopy palm fans showed the majesty of the royal family. The people and petty officials, servants, and yamen runners who knelt on the ground extended directly from outside the Jingdu government office to the lobby. However, facing the aggressive crown prince, only Luo Wen did not perform the kneeling ceremony. Everyone was respectful, but he stood tall with a calm face, which made him look particularly different and abrupt, and also particularly bold. Luo Wen did not even kneel once to Fan Jian, his acknowledged father. How could he easily kneel down to a prince? Except for his grandmother who lived far away in Danzhou, Luo Wen had never felt the warmth of an old man since he was a child, so he knelt down and said goodbye to her sincerely. Otherwise, who in this world would dare to bear his kneeling ceremony? Thunder from heaven would surely backfire. Russell, a handsome young man with a dignified manner and a dragon-like gait walked into the hall. Greetings to His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. He was so bold that he dared to turn a deaf ear to it. Such behavior was a great rebellion. Others were kneeling, but Fan Zion just bowed his hands. In a word, although his appearance and temperament were beyond the prince's expectations, he was amazed in his heart, but the prince was dissatisfied with Fan Zion's disrespectful behavior. Oh, you are Fan Zion? We are all relatives. Hang Cheng, please stand up quickly. Oh, Lord Mei, please stand up quickly. After a meaningful look, Luo Wen just watched quietly. It seems that the prince came prepared. but the prince turned around and helped Prince Jing up. He also helped Measly up with a kind heart, leaving Luo Wen aside. "Oh, thank you, your highness the crown prince. But, why did you suddenly come to my Kyoto government office?" "Oh, I came to see you try a case. As the crown prince of the Eastern Palace, I'm required to travel and learn in various government offices." "Why, Lord Many, don't want me to come?" The crown prince of a country can basically be said to be one of the most honorable people in the world besides the emperor. Moreover, after being named the crown prince, he can open his own Eastern Palace and have his own private guards. Talented people under him can also be awarded official positions. With such real power, although the crown prince's nominal status is not as respected as that of the queen or the queen mother, he can be said to be well-deserved second to one man, above 10,000 people. "How dare I, your highness. Please take a seat." The first impression of the prince is that he is modest and gentle, but he also has the spirit and power of a superior. Hearing that the plum dress was soft, he no longer cared. Just like he did to Luo Wen, he gave him a warning and gently put it down, without any intention of pursuing his disrespect. Creak, creak. Prince Li Chenqian did not sit directly in the position of the chief judge, but moved a low stool from the side, adjusted his purple and gold dark patterned python robe, and sat upright on the left side of the chief judge. "Your highness, what are you doing?" "Sit down." "I dare not." "Measly, you are the prefect of Kyoto. Don't forget your identity." Hissing. "Yes, yes, your highness, I'm sorry." The trembling Measly, his brain was still in a mess. He couldn't sort out the clues. He sat in his seat respectfully, but he felt like sitting on pins and needles. His whole body was burning like a fire, and beads of sweat kept coming out of his forehead. Alas. Such a chief officer, who can't uphold his own official code, thinks he is careful and cautious, and doesn't want to offend anyone, but he doesn't know that his official career is probably the end at this moment. Whether it is Emperor King or the prince sitting beside him with a calm face, Measly, the prefect of Kyoto, is probably labeled with a very bad impression of fearing power and being a celibate. He picked up the gavel, but didn't dare to bang it. Looking at the complaint in front of him, he seemed to have forgotten what he was going to do next. "Your highness, the case is over, and I have been cleared of suspicion." "Oh, really, Lord Many?" Yes, yes, there is a witness." "Witness? Who is it?" Swish, wiping the sweat off his face, he tried to calm the nervous fear in his heart, to reply to "Your highness, it's the Prince of Jing, and Miss Seelali from Zuxianju." "Oh, Han Cheng is my royal descendant. Of course I believe what he says. As for this woman, Zuxianju, Seelali's beauty might be attractive to the high and mighty Li Chenqian, but he was not so unable to extricate himself. Power, the world, and the supreme position were what he wanted. Woman, as long as he inherited the throne, all kinds of women, with all kinds of identities. To answer your highness, Miss Seelali is a prostitute of Zuxianju. She. Measly. A low roar with breath. Thump, your highness, I'm here, I'm here. Humph, the editor in the palace was beaten, whose face is lost. This. Bang. It is the face of the royal family that is lost. Can these people of low status tell the truth from the false with just one sentence? If you ask me, this matter still needs to be investigated strictly. What do you think? Using both kindness and force, first hitting the case and scolding, and then asking cold questions, Measly, who was kneeling in the hall, finally reacted this time. His highness came to listen to the trial is fake, and it is true that he wants to embarrass Fan Zun. Yes, yes, your highness is right, very right. Then why don't you continue? With a thump, Measly, although old, is flexible. He got up from the ground and sat in the position of a chief judge again. Seelali, your testimony is unclear. Come on, torture me. Yes. This. Eyeing his face turned pale. He originally thought it was just a small matter of making good friends. He never thought that the crown prince of King would be involved. It was obvious that he was targeting him. What was the origin of this Fan Zun? Ta-ta, ta-ta. The Yamen runners holding torture instruments came towards Seelali. Although there was some reluctance on their faces, how could they have the strength to go all out for the beauty? Swish. 10 slender jade fingers were put on the finger twisting device. This kind of torture device specially for women would make anyone feel numb. Thinking of Celia, a beautiful woman with natural beauty, being pinched by the finger twisting device until her 10 fingers were bloody. Could it be that her profile was unbearable to look at? Use torture. Wait. Suddenly, Luo Wen, who had been acting like an outsider, spoke up, just like he had hinted to me easily. Celia, who looked scared and nervous, did not seem to have much of a change in her heartbeat except for the apparent panic. Why, Fan Zion, who do you think you are? Are you the one giving orders in this court? Seeing the arrival of Crown Prince Li Qingqian, He Zhonghui was already overjoyed. In his opinion, he had curried favor with Jiuo Baokan in order to become a disciple of the Crown Prince. Now that the real boss was here, how could he not behave well? Oh, I just wanted to say that there's another person outside. Why not wait until he sits down? The second prince is here. Chapter 434 Arriving together. Papa. Compared to Li Qingqian, who had a bright and majestic face, the second prince, who clapped his hands and strode casually, was undoubtedly a little more stern, and his temperament was also a little more distant. The second Prince Li Cheng's and the Crown Prince Li Qingqian were brothers, but they were not born of the same mother. Moreover, because of the supreme position, there was a natural conflict of open and secret struggles. Of course, both were favored by heaven, but one was named the Crown Prince, just because he was born by the Queen, and the other was obviously concerned about the world and was talented, but could only be used as a grindstone. The relationship between the second prince and the Crown Prince had no other choice, except to fight to the death, because the other way, regicide was the way to death. Haha, great, another confession under torture. Greetings to His Royal Highness the second prince. Everyone, stand up. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince is here. How can you kneel before me? Although he was born cold, Li Qing's, who was consistent in appearance and heart, had a straightforward personality that people yearned to make friends with, compared to the fierce Crown Prince Li Qingqian. Creak, clang. The jade ornaments on his body collided. Greetings to His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. True to his word, the second prince stood up tall, walked in front of the Crown Prince who was sitting on the high hall, knelt on both knees, and prepared to perform the etiquette of a minister. Hey, second brother, how many times have I told you that brothers don't have to be like this? Please stand up quickly. He said this, and his tone was also particularly sincere and heartfelt. It was amazing that the brothers were friendly and respectful to each other. This seemed to be inconsistent with the rumors outside that the brothers were not in harmony. But the second prince had already bowed his head to the ground, and the Crown Prince Li Qingqian reached out and helped him up from the ground calmly. What a high and mighty prince, who is full of benevolence, righteousness, and morality. On the surface, he looks gentle and modest, but in fact, he is a vindictive character. You are the Crown Prince, and etiquette cannot be abolished. Oh, then why did you come this time? Oh, of course, to see the power of the Crown Prince. When the Crown Prince sits like this, the governor of Kyoto has to obey his orders. I really admire him. Haha, Lord Medi is trying the case, and I'm just a bystander. Second brother is joking. Oh, really? Yes. Haha. The sweat beads that were finally wiped off began to come out again at this time. Originally, Med easily thought that he had guessed the purpose of the Crown Prince's visit, so he just had to cooperate well today. Who let this wild boy from Lord Fan, the Minister of the Ministry of Revenue, provoke the Crown Prince of King Kingdom? But, this suddenly appeared second prince, is he here with bad intentions? But, didn't the case just now end? Why did they change the order every day and punish people again? Hiss as expected, the second prince is also aggressive. Is he also for Fan Zion? This. Speak boldly, Lord Medi, what's wrong with this? Although Li Qingqian's biological mother died of illness a long time ago, and he has no one to rely on, he was taken care of by the eldest princess, and was named the Crown Prince, when he grew up. Compared with the maternal power behind the second Prince Li Cheng's, the Crown Prince is not at all empty. Replying to the second prince, it was this humble official who privately executed the person. It has nothing to do with His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. If Medizili is a decent person with his own official ethics, He should have made his intentions clear at this time. Unfortunately, he wants to not offend 2, no, maybe 3 heads. His fate is already imaginable. Forget it, Lord Mary, please do as you please. I'm here today just to watch. Ha, clack. Li Chengs and Li Chengqian took the same low stool and moved it to the right of the chief judge. One on the left and one on the right. They were like 2 guardians. Now, with 2 different worlds and the double feeling of sitting on pins and needles under his butt, easily became more and more uncomfortable. Ha, torture. Wait. The second prince and the crown prince have already arrived. The people watching the excitement outside the door all have a premonition of the seriousness of the matter. Many of them are less interested in watching the excitement and quietly turn around and leave. The Yamen runner who was ordered to torture by Meizili again was also ruthless in his heart and was ready to use the torture instruments. Unexpectedly, Luo Wen at this time once again interrupted the progress of the trial. Where did Fan Zion get so much confidence to go against the crown prince again and again? Lily, who had already accepted her fate, now knelt in the court. Her mind was turning over and over. She didn't know what she was thinking, but she made a decision for no reason. Mr. Fan, thank you for your sympathy and kindness, but I'm just a humble person and cannot repay you. As she spoke, Lily stood up from the ground and rushed towards Luo Wen. Hey. Luo Wen was a little confused. He just wanted to express his thoughts. Why was Lily suddenly so moved and rushed over with uncontrolled emotions? If you don't know, you would have thought that you said a spring night before. We have already fallen in love with each other, and we are inseparable. Puff with a soft fragrance in his arms, Luo Wen didn't dodge at the first time. Instead, he was surprised, and his body was a little stiff when Lily pounced on him. If you plead guilty now, you will admit that I lied in court. I'm only doing this for myself. For yourself? The fragrance filled his nose, and the whispers made Luo Wen puzzled. Beautiful lady, what you said is a bit strange. It's okay that you just lied to cover up for me, but now you are about to be punished, and you still say it's for yourself. Could it be that this beautiful lady Lily really has feelings for me? Come on, take her down and torture her. Squeak, creak. Her fingers were clamped into the bamboo sticks, and the sharp edges began to squeeze her fair and tender fingers. Hiss, hum, ah. Lily's pretty face turned pale at the first exertion, and she couldn't help but exclaimed, no, can't you let me finish what I'm saying before torturing me? Wait, Fan Zion, you have repeatedly disrupted the order of the court. Do you really disregard the laws of the country? Your Highness, since you have found the evidence, why do you have to use this delicate woman to create psychological pressure on me? This is not the way to show your power. What? Luo Wen's words were somewhat puzzling, but the face of the Crown Prince Li Chengqian was livid. Just now, no one noticed the arrival of the second Prince Li Chengs, and he suddenly reminded them. At least he saw someone. Everyone half believed and half doubted and let him go, without asking any further questions, just thinking that Fan Zion had a sharp eye and saw the person first. However, these words, which sounded incomprehensible to others, clearly pointed out his next plan. Li Chengqian's face was not ugly, which was really a ghost. How did you know that I had evidence in my hand in this court? Li Chengqian didn't believe it. He didn't believe that Fan Zion had the ability to predict the future, and it was even more impossible to believe that he had the ability to sense breath that ordinary 8th and 9th grade masters didn't have. You caught Teng Zijing. He actually knew? Impossible. Li Chengqian was suddenly in a state of confusion. His methods were actually seen through by Fan Zion, who was standing here. No matter what means he used, the situation was out of control again and again, which was obviously beyond the Crown Prince's expectations. Good boy Fan Zion, come here. Since you know I have captured Teng Zijing, there is no need for me to hide the truth from you. Bring him up. At this point, no matter what means or strength Fan Zion is hiding, Li Chengqian decided to deal with it. What's more, Teng Zijing, the spy from the Inspection Institute who should have died, was actually involved with Fan Zion, under the crime of deceiving the Emperor. Even if he has extraordinary strategies and extraordinary strength, this is the capital of King Kingdom, and Fan Zion must die. Chapter 435. It's a pity. Wow, HMPH. With his limbs locked in shackles and escorted by silver armored guards, Teng Zijing was really unlucky. He was tied up and brought to court. The first thing he said when he saw Luo Wen was not a look of shame or an apology, but a cold snort. Why? Luo Wen had already suggested that, since the family was reunited, they should leave Kyoto and live a good life. If this guy had agreed, he should have been sent to an overseas island by the masters of Xinhua Fang to settle down. No matter what, he should be grateful and not look so unkind as if he had killed his father, right? And how did Luo Wen view Teng Zijing's abnormal behavior? Always considering others and putting his own feelings last. Teng Zijing, you are indeed a friend recognized by me. Thinking that he was caught by the prince, Teng Zijing didn't want to implicate him because of his relationship with him, so he was willing to pretend to be a stranger or even an enemy. Could it be that Teng Zijing thought that Luo Wen, was the Fan Zion who was manipulated and calculated by others? Kneel down. Plop. Please look, everyone. This is Teng Zijing, who has been dead for many days, a spy from the Inspection Institute, who was killed by Fan Zion during the assassination mission in Danzhou. According to the case described by Guo Baokan, the murderer kept asking him questions related to Teng Zijing. I mistakenly thought that it was Teng Zijing's friends or relatives who committed the crime. Unfortunately, after investigating, I found that the story behind it was really shocking. Looking at Teng Zijing kneeling on the ground, Prince Li Chengqian simply got up from the low stool and walked to the hall. Pointing at Teng Zijing with a face full of grief and indignation, he began to narrate his wisdom and good thoughts in a moving voice. Teng Zijing's family was sent out of the city and moved to a new residence, so of course I sent people to look for them, but in the end, the dead Teng Zijing was captured. Interesting, isn't it? Second brother? Oh, so the truth has come to light. The murderer last night was this man. The second Prince Li Cheng's also walked down the hall from the upper hall. He looked at Teng Zijing, then glanced at Luo Wen, and immediately pushed all the blame onto him. Oh, he was trying to find a way to save Fan Zion, even though the situation was already so critical? Oh, second brother, you wouldn't forget Fan Zion, the key figure, right? He reported to his superiors that he killed this man with his own hands. Well, maybe he was deceived by this man's trick and had to do it? Second brother, such an excuse is not so convincing. As far as I know, this person has been with Fan Zion since he came to Beijing. Creak. Hangcheng, Teng Zijing was also at the poetry gathering yesterday, right? How did Crown Prince Li Chengqian know so much about the poetry gathering and the people present? Does he have eyes and ears in the residence of Prince Jing? I did see him. Fan Zion's personal bodyguard? Yes. Li Hangcheng naturally knew how he should answer, even if he had the support of the second Prince Li Cheng's, but there was a time to tell lies, right? Oh, then this matter is even more interesting. The Inspection Institute is an intelligence agency directly under His Majesty, and our young Master Fan actually falsely reported his death and recruited people from the Inspection Institute. TSK. Such audacity is really rare. In the entire court, only the prince was accusing loudly at this time, and the others were listening carefully, while the second prince had turned around and sat on the steps. Obviously, he was not prepared. He did not expect that Teng Zijing would have such an unexpected factor. I will not talk about the laws of the country for now. Fan Zion, you are deceiving the emperor. Click. Following Li Chengqian's last sentence, Meizili, who was already in a dilemma, exclaimed softly, and now he has made a choice. Perhaps he made the choice early, but it is inconvenient to show it in this court. The status of the second prince is not as good as that of the prince, and the power behind him is also not as strong as that of the princess. Guo Baokan, who had long been forgotten by everyone, lay on the wooden board, feeling that all the pain in his body had disappeared, and he felt secretly happy in his heart. Yes, I admit that I threatened Fan Zion with a knife and forced him to surrender. Teng Zijing, who was flustered, had been a little confused by the ups and downs of the past few days. At this time, seeing Fan Zion, who had done him a great favor, being accused again and again, he directly agreed. Unfortunately, he didn't know that, whether he admitted it or took the responsibility, the main target of princely Chenqian was never on him. Well, as far as I know, my second brother also went to the poetry meeting yesterday and met Fan Zion in the backyard. Is this true? Yes. Not only did he meet him, the second prince also saw the strength and potential of Fan Zion that was beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. Of course, otherwise he would not have risked everything to make friends with Fan Zion, but he would definitely not tell the crown prince, who was still unaware of these thoughts and information. Fan Zion, you went to the meeting alone. If you were really held hostage, why didn't you ask for help from my second brother? Humph. Fan Zion, let's see how you can quibble now. In the heart of Crown Prince Li Chinqian, he had already won. As for Fan Zion's calmness and unexpectedness in front of him, those were no longer important, because if the charges were confirmed, this person would die. Haha, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince has unparalleled strategies. I admire him, and Fan Zion is also grateful for the sincere help from His Royal Highness the Second Prince. He was laughing. At this time, he was still laughing. I didn't say that I was threatened by Teng Zijing. I was the one who let him go in Danzhou. After I came to Kyoto, I asked him to help me find the mastermind behind the assassination. Guo Baokan can also be considered as the one who beat him. So what about these? Aren't you curious about why I came to Kyoto and who asked me to come? What? He admitted it. Huff. Fan Zion. I'm going to kill you. Guo Baokan, with a red face, was still shouting on the wooden board, but now he was like a mummy. He couldn't even stand up. Now he was just annoying. Brother Fan, you. Teng Zijing, who was shocked, wanted to say something else, but when he looked up, he felt his whole body loosen up. The shackles on his body broke into pieces and fell off his body. Fan Zion, what do you want to do? Making trouble is a serious crime of confiscating the family property and exterminating the clan. Hiss. He actually has such amazing strength, but this is not something that can be done by internal energy. Could it be Western magic? Then I see Lily knelt in the corner of the hall, her beautiful eyes wandering, but she was thinking about something in her heart. What Luo Wen wanted to do, of course, was to take this prince who jumped out of the palace, to ask the Supreme, who was silently paying attention to everything in the world. He wouldn't really think that in such a big world, everyone can be manipulated by him, right? But before Luo Wen took a step, the huge pressure that was gradually released from his body suddenly retracted, just because the eunuch of that day also came to join in the fun. Wait a moment. Eunuch Hao ran in from outside the government office, and then he found that His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and His Royal Highness the Second Prince were both terrified, and easily, the prefect of Kyoto, was even more pale, and collapsed on his chair. Could all this be done by Master Fan Zion? Greetings, Your Highness, and pass on His Majesty's order. Oh, forget it. Since that person intervened and started to stop him, Luo Wen suppressed his strength again with a little regret. Since he still wanted to continue the show, let's all watch it together. Crash. Everyone knelt down in the court, and only Luo Wen stood aside with his hands behind his back with a calm face. Eunuch Hao just wiped the sweat from his forehead, and did not dare to scold him. Teng Zijing is not dead. It's because the Inspection Institute has other arrangements. Fan Zion is not deceiving the Emperor. Judicial trials are the responsibility of the Kyoto Prefecture. The royal family members should all return to their own homes and mind their own business. We will obey the imperial edict. The unwilling prince and the second prince with complicated feelings took a last look at Luo Wen, then turned and left. Lord Mei, the emperor summoned you to the palace. Now? Why? Inconvenient. No, it's convenient. The court, which was tense just now, even the chief judge was called away. The remaining Guo Baokan, Zhangli, Lily, and Teng Zijing all looked at a loss. By the way, Guo Baokan was wrapped in gauze, but his eyes were lonely, and his expression could not be seen. Haha, Master Fan, we meet again. Yes, it's a coincidence that Eunuch Hao came today. Since His Majesty has ordered it, let's leave it at that for today. Fan Zion has something else to do, so I won't accompany you for long. The embarrassed eunuch Hao didn't know what to say, so he turned around and left with the guards and met easily. Miss Seelily, thank you very much for testifying in court today. Is the injury on your hand okay? Teng Zijing was much more sober at this time. Seeing that Fan Zian didn't even take the eunuchs from the palace seriously, it was obvious that he underestimated Fan Zian's hidden strength again. Luo Wen stepped forward and helped up the delicate and pitiful Seelily. Although he didn't understand what her action today was for, he was helping him with good intentions. Naturally, he couldn't just leave her here alone and ignore her. Thank you for your concern, Master Fan. Lily dare not entangle. See you another day at Zuxianju. What does this beautiful woman mean by laying a long line to catch a big fish? Seeing Seelily refuse, then move her feet, put her palms into her sleeves, and leave with a painful back, Luo Wen was also a little unsure. What on earth was this woman thinking? Brother Fan, I'm causing you trouble again. Oh, forget it. Time will tell everything. Okay, I still say the same thing. Seriously consider my suggestion. Take your sister-in-law and nephew, and leave this place of trouble. Chapter 436. Time reveals people's hearts. Brother Fan, I was captured by the prince's guards in the early morning. I don't know how my wife and children are doing at home. I want to go back and report that I'm safe first. Oh, of course. It's better to settle your family. There's no need to rush to the Fan mansion. Now that your identity is out in the open, you don't have to worry about others assassinating you. We'll talk about it later. Teng Zijing and Luo Wen walked out of the gate of the Kyoto government office together. The sun on the street was still so warm, and the people who gradually gathered around were also talking about Luo Wen's appearance and temperament. Then I won't be polite with you. Goodbye. Well, go. Waving his hand, Luo Wen didn't care about the various looks around him, but prepared to return to the Fan mansion. This in and out wasted 2 hours of time in vain. I don't know if there will be any lunch left after returning. Wow. Brother, I'm here to save you. Click, click. Francis, who was like a silly boy, ran over from a distance, sweating profusely, holding a pair of large scissors for trimming green plants. Where did he get this thing, or who gave it to him? It was really unexpected, and it complemented each other. Hey, brother, why were you released? I said I was going to save you? Francis' confusion was obvious, especially when he looked through the gate and couldn't even see a Yaman runner. It seemed that his heroic rescue of his brother behavior had no place to show his strength. Isn't it a good thing that I came out? Why do you sound like you have some regrets? It's not that I didn't react for a moment, and I was so excited to see that you were safe and sound. Oh, by the way, brother, I just saw His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and His Royal Highness the Second Prince, as well as the eunuchs in the palace on the road. What happened to them? Why did they suddenly come here? TSK, I didn't realize that this kid is not only naive, but also observant. Let's go back first. By the way, has everyone in the mansion had lunch? Did you leave some for me? No way, brother, our whole mansion is in a mess because of you, and you still have the mind to talk about eating? We haven't even had lunch yet. Crunch, crunch, your majesty, Lord Measly is here. Oh, call him in. The air in the imperial study was fresh and fragrant, and the mind couldn't help but be refreshed when you smelled it, but in the eyes of the submissive Measly, it was an endless murderous aura, which made people feel suffocated. Your Majesty, I pay my respects to you. Yes, I'm here. Sit down. Sit down. In the decades of serving as a minister, Your Majesty has never been so intimate with me. Why did it suddenly happen? Is it a final farewell? Oh, I'm terrified. Alas, it is better to obey than to be respectful. Sit down. There was no murderous intent on Emperor King's face, but a face full of affinity and care. But the more this happened, the more uneasy and frightened Measly felt. This is not in the palace. I asked you to sit down, so you sit down. Hissing. Yes, thank you, Your Majesty. Measly, who was trembling slightly, dared only lean on the couch lightly. How could he dare to sit down steadily? Oh, by the way, do you like to drink honey syrup? Click, is he going to give wine? Hearing this, Measly jumped up from the couch, His legs softened, and he was ready to kneel down and beg for mercy. "Your Majesty, I'm grateful for your kindness." Measly seemed to have guessed the purpose of Emperor King summoning him to the palace. Rustle, rustle, creak, gurgle, gurgle. "Lord Mei, please." The shrill-voiced eunuch poured the honey drink in front of him. This was it prepared long ago, just waiting for Measly to arrive, so that he could drink the good wine and die to apologize. "Today, regardless of the monarch and the minister, we are just old friends. Sit down." Russell, his palms couldn't stop shaking, holding the silver cup. Measly's face was pale. "I remember when we first met, you were still a hidden dragon. Now you have gray hair. Alas. It's over. It's over. Time catches up with people. It's inevitable." Looking back on the past and recalling the present, Measly felt that his life was in danger today. "Thank you for all the hard work." Emperor King and Measly both knew what the other was thinking. As the saying goes, an old man who is still alive is a thief. The superficial harmony between the monarch and his subjects, as well as the comings and goings, were just paving the way for the thundering wrath that would follow. Alas, it's a pity that things don't always go as one wishes. "Your Majesty, I know my crime. I know my crime." Woo woo. Tears suddenly fell. Measly only hoped that Emperor King would spare his life. Although the hope was slim, he had to give it a try, didn't he? "Hey, why are you admitting your guilt while we are chatting? What crime has King committed?" "Minister, shouldn't I try Fanzan?" "Well, someone filed a petition. As the prefect of Jingdu, of course you should try him." "Ah, in the court, the prince is here. Shouldn't I abuse the criminal law and lose my mind? It's difficult for you to deal with it in front of the East Palace. I can understand." After a conversation, Measly found that the result might not be as bad as he expected. Moreover, Emperor King should be nostalgic. Otherwise, why would he summon him to the palace? It's a pity that Measly secretly surrendered to the prince's lineage and used the governor and the yamen runners of Jingdu prefecture to capture Teng Xijing as his token of surrender. This made Emperor King feel that the imperial power was threatened and wanted to kill him. As long as Emperor King was alive, all ministers should abide by their duties and only obey his orders. Only others can do what he allows. He can't tolerate what he doesn't allow others to do, even if it's the prince. Just as Luo Wen thought in Kyoto Prefecture, Measly, as a court official, chose to reserve a way out early when the emperor was still alive. He took refuge under the prince, risking his future and life for a better future. Unfortunately, he lost the bet. Eunuch Hao let the inspection office keep an eye on Measly and kill him as a bandit on his way back home. With this order, Measly, who had just retired and returned home and thought he had escaped a disaster, had his chances of survival sealed. "Yes, I obey your order." It was not only the crown prince of the Eastern Palace who was exerting force on Fanzan in the government office in Kyoto. At this time, there was another person in the backyard of the Imperial Palace who was also taking this opportunity to make a suggestion. Fanzan's various actions in front of the hall today have spread throughout Kyoto. He was disrespectful to the royal family and recruited spies from the inspection office. "Queen Mother, do you think Wana can marry such a man? I heard that Wan Li Bikyu is often a guest, and he beats people in the street. Famous prostitutes in brothels suffer for love. It's very lively." The woman sitting on the steps had grey hair, which was piled up high and full of gold hairpins. She was thin, as if she was getting older with the passing of time, but Her Majesty was still there. "Queen Dowager, Fanzan's poetry is indeed good, but he is too arrogant and rude. Now everyone knows that Fanzan not only visits prostitutes, but also beats people in the street. When I think about Wana marrying such a man, I'm worried, and I'm even more afraid of losing the face of the royal family." Li Yunru's hatred for Fanzan came from nowhere, like a thorn in the flesh, and it was unforgettable. At this time, Luo Wen might not know that he, a dignified land immortal, had feelings for a girl for the first time, and the mother-in-law he would have to face in the future would be such a person. "So, you still want to reject this marriage? There is a difference between the monarch and the minister. This person doesn't respect the prince in the hall. If the power of the inner treasury is handed over to him in the future, I'm afraid it will be a hidden danger." The old man didn't seem to want to mention these topics anymore. He had warned the princess last time and asked the old servant beside him to slap her. Now it seems that it will have little effect. She is really too stubborn. I'm a little tired. You go down. Chapter 437, Murder. That night, Luo Wen comforted the worried fan Ruoro and discussed with Francis about cooperating to open a bookstore. Then he returned to his own courtyard quietly. Creak, crackle, walking into the house. In addition to the jumping candlelight, there were also small flying insects that exploded slightly. There were also two very handsome boys. Although their faces were tender, their eyes were extremely tenacious. At this time, they were standing quietly beside the patio. They were not curious about the koi in the pool and the various strange objects in the house. They showed great concentration. Pavilion Master. Their names were Kiai and Kia. Although every boy who passed the final examination would be given a surname by the Pavilion Master, they were generally used to calling themselves the code names that the Pavilion Master remembered when they were studying in the Zixing Pavilion Valley. If you don't enter the innate, you can't leave the valley. If you want to graduate and work for the Pavilion Master, you must pass the various assessments of the Zixing Pavilion. Just like Kiai and Kia, they can be said to be extremely lucky people. They are proud that they can stay with the Pavilion Master, who is both a teacher and a friend. Wearing dark black clothes, blending into the night, with sword sheaths on their waists. One of them has one sword and the other has two. This can only be said that these two teenagers have such habits. Some boys like to learn sword immortals and carry sword cases on their backs with at least 4 or 5 swords and as many as 10 swords. There are also many who like to use flying knives, barehanded, and spears. Of course, some girls prefer beauty and don't like to fight with others. Luo Wen also specially prepared soft swords, long whips, hidden weapons, and other weapons that do not affect their appearance. You have worked hard these days. You have been running around with my family, but I can only guard in secret. You are not allowed to show your face. Just sit down and wait for me. There is no need to be so restrained. Luo Wen waved his hand, telling them not to be as serious as they were in class in the valley. He also sat on a low table with a cushion, beckoning them to come over and sit down and talk. Gulp, gurgle. The water in the teapot was still a little hot. It should be that the servants in the yard changed it before leaving. Master, we dare not. If other companions know that we are so casual, they will definitely report us to Brother Luo Yi and the others. Luo Yi, haha. Luo Wen's eyes flickered too. He was only less than 1 year old before. Although he was small, his speech, actions and strength were not affected much. He flew in the air and transformed into an adult. He brought 10 children begging on the streets to the secret valley. Oh, it is now called the Star Picking Pavilion. Only outstanding disciples can enter the pavilion for training. Most of the children live and study on the overseas Spark Island. That is to say, the first batch of disciples that Luo Wen personally recruited were all older than himself. The oldest Luo Yi is now 27, and the youngest Luo Shimui is 25. This has a consequence. When they know that their teacher and benefactor is just a child, the children they recruited later are strictly admonished not to show any disrespect to the Pavilion Master because of his age. Just like Kiai and Kia, they are afraid of their senior brothers and sisters from the bottom of their hearts, and they are even more afraid of their teacher who rarely shows up, that is, Pavilion Master Luo Wen. Looking at the two 16-year-old boys who were somewhat moved, but did not dare to get too close, they just had an expression of fanatical admiration on their faces. Luo Wen also had a helpless and bitter smile on his face. They were all master-level experts when they walked outside, but under the guidance of Luo Yi and others, they became their loyal believers. Well, in such an era, it is not appropriate to discuss human rights and freedom. It is better to take it slowly, otherwise it will only backfire, just like Luo Yi and others. Stubborn, if they are forced to sit at the same table again, they would rather die than cross the line. By the way, I called you out tonight to let you protect Teng Xijing's family. I'll be here at Fand Mansion. Yes, Pavilion Master. Disciples obey. The two teenagers looked at each other. Not only did they not feel hardship, but they were happy with it. thinking that it was a great honor and pride to be entrusted with an important task by the pavilion master. Swish, after bowing and saluting, the figures of the two teenagers disappeared directly into the night, as if they had never appeared. Master, the master is asking you to come over to the study. Luo Wen had just arranged the task and was about to use the Xinghuo personal terminal to check out the development of Xinghuo Square in recent times. Unexpectedly, the servant's report came from outside the courtyard. Okay, I know. Hey, I don't know why Fan Jian is looking for him now that it's dark. Is he not confident enough in me and has many things to tell him and worries about me? It's just that this feeling of being cared for by strangers is really an inexplicable enjoyment and joy. Luo Wen's mouth corners slightly raised, and he stood up from the low table again. Looking at the peaceful and tranquil atmosphere in his own courtyard, he couldn't help but feel a little kind and cherishing. Living in this world for 18 years, Luo Wen unconsciously sometimes thinks back to himself. Is his past not just a dream? Is this the real thing? Of course, he only had such inexplicable thoughts occasionally. After reacting, he felt the surging spiritual power in his body and the 5 senses that would automatically sense the surroundings if he didn't pay attention, to suppress it at all times, and the energy affinity that made people hard to guard against, which would release a fatal temptation to other creatures. Naturally, he remembered that his name was Luo Wen, not the Fan Jian arranged by the system. Knock knock. Come in. The serious yet gentle voice was his father Fan Jian. Father, are you looking for me? Fan Jian was in a heavy mood today. He didn't expect that Fan Jian had shown that he was well mannered and talented before, and he became famous in Kyoto yesterday with a song Climbing the Heights. Why did he start to be romantic and care about his reputation at night? Especially, yesterday afternoon, the Lin family princess came to the mansion. The two of them met. According to the servants, they had a good impression of each other and were a match made in heaven. What on earth does he want to do? Zaina, I know you have your own plans in mind. With your intelligence, you can definitely solve the dilemma in Kyoto. But your father is really confused. You clearly know that your wedding is coming soon, and the Miss Lin and you are quite compatible. It's a good start. Why did you suddenly lose your temper? Oh, is it because of this? Father wants to say that after you have a reputation, you need to cherish it. Otherwise, this will be a weakness that the enemy can use to attack you, and taking over the inheritance left by your mother will also cause trouble. Since you know that, why did you still? I was disrespectful to His Royal Highness the Crown Prince in front of many people, questioned him in court, and even had the intention to kill him and use force to intimidate him. Could it be that Fan Jian was not acting on impulse? Force is not the best way to solve problems. The superiors must learn to convince others with virtue and reason. Is that what father wants to say? So, you did it on purpose? If a man is not frivolous when he is young, he will be famous for a poem before he is 18. I live in seclusion and rarely come into contact with outsiders. If I want some people to let down their guard against me, then I need to do more things that I should do at my age. Being disrespectful to His Royal Highness the Crown Prince in the Kyoto government office is only one of them. Staying overnight on the flower boat by the Liujing River is only the second. Opening a bookstore, making friends with the second prince, and recruiting Teng Zijing are all the same. Of course, arrogance is only part of what Luo Wen wants to tell Fan Jian. There are many more things that he didn't tell him. But the consequence of being arrogant is that it will inevitably lead to a counterattack from the crown prince and the princess. Today you have threatened them. Tomorrow, they will definitely hit you with one blow and do their best to you. Zaina, do you know? Thank you for your concern, father. What you said is exactly what I want to see. Forget it. Since you already know what's going on, I will just watch you turn this capital upside down. Chapter 438, Brewing. Miss Fan is here. Dong dong. In the pavilion, Fan Ruoro placed the gift in her hand on the stone table. In the embroidery room on the second floor, the woman in white who was burning incense and embroidering had a rosy complexion. Since she came back from Fan's house that day, there were fewer taboos in her daily diet. The most important thing was that the screen windows and curtains in the courtyard were removed and not used so that Lin Wana could breathe the freshest air at all times and enjoy the scenery outside the window day and night. The lovely maid in the green skirt, Wan Qiu, was in a good mood these 2 days and changed her previous heavy mood and worry. The young lady's tuberculosis was cured by Master Fan Zion, which was really a great happy event. It was a pity that the young lady lived alone in the courtyard. Whether it was her mother or her father, if they didn't summon her, it would not be very convenient for her to go back to see them. Lin Wana, dressed in white and smiling like a flower, is no longer suffering from illness. Her smile on her face every day infects everyone, making everyone in the mansion very happy. At this time, she ran down from the upstairs without stopping. Even Wan Qiu, the personal maid beside her, could not catch up. It seems that Mr. Fan Zion's magic medicine can not only cure diseases, but also strengthen the body. Ruoruo, meet the princess's sister-in-law. The graceful Fan Ruoruo's face was full of envy and kindness. She looked at the brocade box and the slender gift box beside her, and her heart was full of curiosity. I wonder what kind of gift my brother will prepare for his future sister-in-law? By the way, I don't know if the things my brother did in Kyoto yesterday have been heard by Princess Lin. I hope there will be no misunderstandings. Really, why doesn't my brother come to explain it himself? Swish, facing Fan Ruoruo's affectionate address. Even though she was engaged, she was a lady from a well-off family who seldom dealt with outsiders. Suddenly encountering such a situation, her heart beat fast, and she looked shy and at a loss. Sister Fan Zio. Ruoruo, don't make fun of me like this. Master Fan and I haven't gotten married yet, HMM. Although she was shy, Lin Wana felt that being so close to Fan Zion's sister suddenly made her very happy. She agreed to it naturally. Although she said some unpleasant words, the expression on her face was extremely happy and satisfied. Princess sister-in-law, you have to get used to it slowly. Why not start from today? By the way, this is a gift that my brother asked me to send to you. I don't know what's inside. Princess sister-in-law, why don't you open it and let me open my eyes? Huh. At first sight, the relationship between the two women seemed to be drawn closer because of Fan Zun. Lin Wana, who gladly accepted Fan Ruoruo's title of princess's sister-in-law, was also somewhat curious about what gift Fan Zun promised to give her. Click. In the slender brocade box, there was a beautiful painting, as if Lin Wana was painted on paper, with a little more of the spirit of the mortal world. Her clothes and appearance were the scene when they first met in the temple, and there was also a very beautiful poem on it. Lin Wana's heart jumped, with infinite joy and love on her face. She had the urge to meet that handsome figure with elegant demeanor and delicate mind all the time. While Fan Ruoruo envied and praised, she was also a little unhappy. Her brother had never painted such a painting for her. Click. Open the square gift box, except for a set of rouge and powder with the words Ing Ho printed on it. There is no such set on the market. The bottles and jars inside are all exquisite and must be expensive. The two women can see this. Then there are 4 silk scarves on the second layer. The exquisite patterns on them are actually double-sided embroidery with different colors, which is a rare thing that has never been seen before. Another larger gift box, after opening it, is full of small packaged snacks, candies, fruit gummies, lava chocolates, cakes, and secret chicken legs and boneless chicken feet. These are Lin Wana's favorites, and there are also exquisite snacks that she has never eaten. As for Lin Wana, how did she know these strange names? Naturally, Fan Ruoruo, who was envious and faintly disappointed, told her. On the outskirts of Kyoto, Luo Wen showed up at Teng Zijing's residence alone. Although Luo Wen suggested again and again, the couple insisted on kneeling down to express their gratitude. They had to give up, only when they found that they could not kneel down. I came here today, mainly to visit my sister-in-law and nephew. I appreciate your gratitude. Luo Wen's outstanding and extraordinary temperament made Teng Zijing's wife feel that he was rare in the world. She was a little at a loss when dealing with him. However, the couple complemented each other. Teng Zijing valued love and friendship, and his wife was also a model of a good wife and mother. Brother Fan, you came so soon. Why did you bring us gifts? Since I met you, I have been taken care of by you, but you were almost implicated by me and targeted. I don't know how to repay you. Teng Zijing, who was ashamed and angry, was really embarrassed and didn't know how to repay Fan Zion for his kindness. Well, if you regard me as a friend, don't be so polite. These are just some snacks I prepared myself, not worth mentioning. Ah, the young master of a wealthy family can make food by himself. Teng Zijing's wife was obviously unable to adapt to such a contrasting perception. That's true, my lady, we should accept it. Brother Fan is a legendary all-rounder. Although his status is very different from ours, his martial arts, literary talent, cooking skills, and craftsmanship are all unexpected. Especially on the way back to Beijing, I couldn't stop thinking about his cooking skills. Hearing that they were all food, Teng Zijing's attitude changed drastically, and he swallowed unconsciously. He took the gift box from Luo Wen's hand, opened the red ribbon on it, and opened the stairs on both sides to present it. That's right, Luo Wen not only prepared one for Lin Wana, but also left one for Fan Ruoruo, who pouted when she went out, but didn't say it clearly. And the one he brought out was also prepared together. Son, come quickly. Uncle Fan has brought you some delicious food. But let me make it clear first. You should eat less of these candies. You can only eat them if your mother gives them to you every day. You are not allowed to steal them. Teng Zijing called his son over and gently instructed him. The child, who had delicate features and looked a bit like his mother, politely called him uncle. With a curious look on his face, his eyes switched back and forth between Luo Wen and the gift box. Luo Wen had done favors for Teng Zijing's family, so he was naturally not an outsider. His wife put away the gift box and went to the kitchen to prepare lunch. The little boy took the wooden sword made by Teng Zijing and ran out to play. With the candied horse in his hand and the snacks in his pocket, he was in a really good mood. Brother Fan, I have discussed this with my wife. Now that you have just arrived in Kyoto, you need help with many things to do. Although I'm not talented, I owe you too much. I have no choice but to repay you with my life. I will feel guilty if I don't find out the mastermind behind the assassination in Danzhou. This Teng Zijing is really a loyal, affectionate and trustworthy person. However, I'm not here to recruit you as my subordinate today, but to persuade your family to leave Beijing. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 439 Undercurrent. Since the day when Fan Zion was tried in the court of the Kyoto government, time has passed quietly. The talent and extraordinary grace of Fan Zion have spread throughout Kyoto and are still spreading to other places. However, the deviation from the original play has also begun to change. The portrait and the few lines of poetry that Luo Wen gave to Lin Wana also expressed his feelings and a belief in love. What will she think, and what decision will she make? Luo Wen is also a little uneasy. As for the mixed reviews, some say that Fan Zion is frivolous and romantic. Some say that before a talented man and a beautiful woman get married, they should enjoy the romance of love. The Lin family princess has nothing to complain about, and should be grateful. If Fan Zion is not an illegitimate child, with his talent and knowledge, he will definitely achieve extraordinary success in the future, and have a promising future. Although there are rumors that the Lin family princess is extremely beautiful, and has both inner and outer qualities, she has been weak and sick since childhood and rarely goes out. Few people can verify whether it is true or not. The title of princess is also not worthy of being on the stage. With the same illegitimate daughter identity, if it were not for the involvement of the inner treasurer's financial power, she might not be a good match for Fan Zion's master. That's right, master. Fan Zion's talent is now famous all over the world. Whether it is the poems he wrote, or the words he wrote, it is even said that he is good at simulation three-dimensional painting. They are all rare in the world. How many people want to ask for it with thousands of gold, but it's a pity that there is no way to ask for it. The title of master is considered respect. Click. In Guangxin Palace, a man and a woman were playing chess. The woman was gorgeous and beautiful, with a noble temperament. The man was heroic, with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. But the woman looked like the man's elder, at least a sister, aunt. Fan Zion is getting harder to figure out. I always feel that he is well prepared, but he is also reckless and frivolous. Now he has cured Sister Wana with medicine. Do we really have to continue to treat him like this? Crown Prince Li Chengqian has always been humble and respectful in front of his aunt, the eldest Princess Li Yunru. Moreover, it seems that he has suddenly hesitated about the continuous actions against Fan Zion in the past period of time. It's a pity that Li Yunru didn't care about so much. The hatred in her heart did not fade away with the accumulation of time, but became more intense. It was not only for revenge, but also for her own ambition. Even though Fan Zion was a rare talent, his identity and background were deeply involved. Now he was shrouded in a mysterious halo, and he was famous and noisy. He also cured Wana's tuberculosis. The two seemed to love each other. But how could she let Fan Zion go? Snap, the pieces were dropped mercilessly. The smile on his face seemed to be engraved on them, without the slightest change. Once the arrow is shot, there is no turning back. I should have taught you this. Those who accomplish great things should not be soft-hearted. Besides, everything has been arranged. I'm afraid it's too late to stop now. What do you think? Haha, Li Yunru and Li Chengqian, the aunt and nephew, were playing chess in the royal garden easily. Outside the palace, everything had already been surging, and the dark clouds were pressing down on the city, ready to destroy it. They were chatting and laughing, while waving their hands, and the layout of life and death was already thousands of miles away. Huolala, clatter, clang, clang. The day before yesterday at dusk, a carriage drove in from outside the city. It was a thick wooden box like a coffin, and it was locked with dense iron chains. When it was on the street, there was a roar of a wild beast inside, and it suddenly moved and almost overturned, scaring the people around to scream. Fortunately, the driver then transported the wooden box to a remote alley, and the people around were no longer frightened. Only a handsome boy, who was not afraid of tigers, ran into the empty courtyard and took his own snacks to visit the big friend in the iron box. Until 2 days later, click, rustle, Teng Zijing did not accept Luo Wen's proposal, but became his driver and guard more attentively. At this time, he was checking the carriage at the gate of Fan Mansion. Luo Wen had a waist badge of the inspector, and recruited several people from the inspection institute as his subordinates. No one could say anything. Anyway, he was responsible for the monthly salary. Creak, hey, brother, why don't you take me with you today? I always feel a little uneasy. You contradicted the prince in court that day, but he didn't react. Today, the second prince asked you to go to the Liujing River. If the prince hears about it, he will definitely kill you without mercy. A pair of big beautiful eyes were full of worry and concern. Fan Ruoro's feelings for her brother were really sincere. I'm afraid Fan Jiandu could never compare with Luo Wen. Don't worry, silly girl. Your brother can cook delicious and fun things, but he is not a chess piece that can be squeezed and flattened at will. Besides, only if Ruoro waits for me at home obediently, I will feel at ease, and will not worry about your safety. If you really feel too worried, why not go to the bookstore and help Sis? I don't know how his plans are going now. Oh, now that you mention it, it seems like I haven't seen him for a while. How about this, you go early, and come back early. I will wait for you in your yard. By the way, brother, the princess's sister-in-law is of the same mind as you, and she doesn't speculate too much about those rumors. You can't let her down for such a friendship. Don't have anything to do with the courtesan Lily anymore. Just talk about things, and don't stay out all night, understand? Are you a younger sister, or am I a brother? Luo Wen looked at this little girl, who was patient like a nagging little sister, and couldn't help but smile. Yes, our sister Ruoro is the best to me. I will listen to you in everything. I will come back as soon as I finish my work and promise not to bother other women. Brother Fan, it's getting late. We should set off. Oh, okay, I'll be right there. Waving his hand, Luo Wen said goodbye to the cute girl at the door, and got on the carriage. Teng Zijing sat in the driver's seat as usual, and began to drive the carriage faithfully. Go. Brother, you must have a safe journey. I just hope that my uneasiness today is just an illusion. For half a month, Luo Wen did not go out. The communication with the fairy woman in the temple was also transmitted through Fanruoro. But to be honest, he found the innocent feeling of writing notes when he was in school. I don't know if it's appropriate for an old cow to eat young grass. Today, however, it was rainy and depressing, with no sign of sunshine. Luo Wen was inexplicably irritated. His intuition told him that the crown prince and the princess behind him seemed to have already started to make arrangements. As for the sudden invitation from the second prince today, was he colluding with others to test his cards? Or was he being used and framed by someone with ulterior motives? It was no longer important. All obstacles should be broken by force. Water will burn the sky, and soldiers will kill them. Maybe going out today will let those people behind the scenes, who think they are sitting on the high platform, know what it means, that the rules of mortals cannot restrain extraordinary people. When facing things that you don't understand, you should still have some fear in your heart. With a clang, in a remote and deserted courtyard, the copper locks of the layers of iron chains on the wet wooden box were opened. Without waiting for the two female swordsmen in green gauze hats to come forward to check, boom, bang, a domineering true energy rushed into the sky, and the whole iron box was blown into pieces, as if the disheveled humanoid Tyrannosaurus finally dissolved the medicinal power of the dispersing gas powder in his body. He was more than 6 feet tall, equivalent to 2.1 meters in Luo Wen's main world. His muscles bulged high, and his temples bulged outward, as if there was too much true energy in his body and nowhere to vent it. He was Cheng Jushu, a master of the Northern Qi dynasty, a martial artist at the peak of the 8th rank. Not to mention the blessing of his innate supernatural power, just his terrifying body shape would scare ordinary people to death. I'll obey your orders, Cheng Jushu. The humanoid Tyrannosaurus, who had just escaped, had red eyes and a powerful true energy raging all over his body. He directly pushed the two 7th grade female swordsmen aside, and even blew away the light gauze brimmed hats on their heads. It seems that there is a huge difference in strength between the 8th and 7th grades, or between warriors of the same realm. Seeing the token in the woman's hand, Cheng Jushu, who was like an iron tower, hammered his chest frantically. He did not directly kill the woman in front of him with two palms. It seems that the beast in rags, and with a foul smell, still has some reason. Chapter 440, Newland Street. Swish, clack, clack. To get from Fan's house to the bank of Liujing River, you need to pass through a street with few people. This is the shortest route and the best choice. As soon as I walked into the alley, the dark clouds in the evening sky suddenly rolled away, and the warm sunshine of early autumn was sprinkled. Teng Zijing, who was sitting in front of the carriage, raised his hand to block the dazzling light. Brother Fan, after you and the princess of the Lin family get married, will you continue to live in this Kyoto city, or return to Danzhou to be a pair of immortals who don't care about worldly affairs? What's the matter? Do you also think that Kyoto is not suitable for a family to live here? On the empty streets on both sides, there were two female warriors wearing light gauze hats, jumping lightly on the courtyard wall, holding a curved bow, pinching arrow feathers in their hands. Swoosh, 2 arrows were fired at once, and the action was not slow. Knowing the importance of finishing off the enemy, 3 fingers were like hooks, and 2 feather arrows were pulled on the bowstring at the same time. In this way, 1 on the left, and 1 on the right, a total of 4 shots, caught up with the 2 arrows in front, and blocked the space for the rustling carriage to dodge left and right. No, there is an assassin. Go. Teng Zijing's true key cultivation is only the 4th level, but he has been in actual combat for a long time, and has received assassination training in the Inspection Institute. If you say that he is so powerful, there will definitely not be many people who believe it. However, if you want to assassinate someone above your level, as long as you don't exceed the Grandmaster level, it is easy, no problem. At this time, Teng Zijing suddenly heard the whistling sound of the air tearing in his ears. His first instinctive reaction was to wave the reins in his hand and shout at him to speed up and dodge. That's right. He reacted very timely. The sharp arrow only shot at the rear of the carriage, and then exploded with wood chips flying. But the purpose of the assassin did not seem to be to succeed with this attack. A thin line suspended 1 foot above the ground was broken by the legs of a galloping horse. The thin line was not strong and did not cause any damage to the horse's legs, but chirp, chirp, these two sounds were much louder than the movement of those feather arrows. Two powerful crossbows more than 4 feet long and 2 fingers in diameter pierced the air and aimed directly at the carriage from the alley. No, brother Fan, come out quickly. Boom. The carriage was blown into pieces, and the 2 horses pulling the carriage were pierced directly through the abdomen and nailed to the wall, hissing, chirping after only a few breaths of neighing. Their internal organs were shattered and they died. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Teng Zijing was not as powerful as the 2 masked female assassins who were trying to kill him. He could fly high in the air and shoot arrows, and make up for the blows with his agility. However, his attack methods were somewhat unexpected. His cloak fluttered rapidly, and he attacked with a whirring sound. He was furious and his speed was faster than before. Whoosh, whoosh, the flying knives hidden inside the cloaks turned into flying sand, and flew straight towards the faces of the 2 female assassins who were only busy shooting arrows. By the time they reacted and wanted to gain leverage in midair, apart from taking a breath and turning around, hoping to catch the attack with their backs, there was also no effective way to deal with it, but they couldn't think of it in a hurry. Puff, puff, with just this move of flying sand all over the sky, the 2 female assassins with fluttering sleeves fell directly from midair to behind the courtyard wall with a plop, and they didn't even have time to scream in pain. Obviously, the flying knives were smeared with a poison developed by the Inspection Institute. Brother Fan, are you okay? The carriage exploded into pieces, and the blood mist in the air mixed together. Teng Zijing didn't hear Luo Wen's voice for a while, and thought he had an accident, or was fatally injured. In his haste, he seemed to have forgotten that when he first tried to assassinate someone, he was controlled on the spot without bloodshed, and his eyes couldn't move. Of course, it is also possible that Luo Wen rarely took action except for that time. As for his strength, apart from endless reverie and speculation, no one really knew his details, or had a clear understanding. Teng Zijing himself was also too concerned and confused, forgetting that the elegant and handsome young man Fan Zion was actually a hidden master of strange arts. Boom! Before Teng Zijing could find Fan Zion's figure, and before he had time to check the details of the female assassin, a section of the red brick wall on the side of the road was directly blown away by a punch, and the dust in the sky once again blocked the view of the street. Ah, you almost die, almost die. The voice was like a loud bell, and a tall figure that covered the sky and the sun seemed to make Teng Zijing think that it was dark. There was also a gust of wind, and before he could get ready for defense, a pungent stench first rushed into his mouth and nose, and then a strong fist wind that made his cheeks numb and painful, carrying a force of 10,000 pounds, broke through the air. Puff plop! With just one punch, Teng Zijing's sternum was broken, his internal organs ruptured, and he fell into the ruins. Gurgling, bright red blood kept pouring out from the corners of Teng Zijing's mouth, as if it was free, and his eyes widened, and he felt that his heart was gradually stopping. Brother Fan, run away. Click, his head turned, and the light in his eyes was extinguished. Haha, one is dead. There is still one left. Come on, let me break your neck. Hehe, in the rough voice that laughed wildly towards the sky. Boom, boom, the muscular man as tall as an iron tower. Every step seemed to shake the earth. No, the smoke dissipated. Cheng Jushu's copper bell-like eyes, but the pupils suddenly shrank. The bloody and murderous tyranny was suddenly replaced by the ice-cold and fear that swept over, standing out of thin air. Is this a master? You have such martial arts, but you are willing to be driven by others. Is it because the kindness in your heart has been used by others? Whoosh, moving without wind, Luo Wen's body appeared leisurely from the smoke less than 3 feet in front of Cheng Jushu. Ah, impossible, I don't believe it, I'm going to kill you. Chuckling, Luo Wen's eyes were clear and deep, like an emotionless puppet, and after he looked at the sturdy man in front of him, he turned his back to him, no longer interested. The spring breeze melted the snow, and his eyes regained their gentle concern. Brother Teng, this time, I don't think you will refuse to take your wife and children away from Kyoto, right? Fear, madness, and tyranny all solidified on Cheng Jushu's face at this moment. He was just struggling hard against the infinite oppression on himself, and now he just stood there motionless, maintaining the last action of punching, and stood there vividly. Little Master Fan, Wan Kinyan, who flew over the courtyard wall with King Gong, looked at Cheng Jashu who was motionless, and then looked at Fan Zan who was thinking with his head down, with a sad face. At the end of his sight was Teng Zijing lying in a pool of blood. What is this? I'm fine, but Teng Zijing's internal organs were broken in order to save me, and there is no cure. The cold voice made people tremble all over. Wow, TikTok. Luo Wen was not covered with a speck of dust, but when he picked up Teng Zijing by the waist, he was covered with blood, like a bloody demon, which was terrifying. Teng Zijing's mouth and nose were still dripping blood, and so were his hanging hands. Seeing the collapse in his chest, Wan Kinyan was terrified, not knowing how to persuade the frosty-faced Fan Zan. Hoo-la-la, a burst of hurried footsteps sounded, and the masters of the Inspection Institute wearing clothes of various colors and patterns gathered at the street corner. Brother Wang, please go to Zuxianju and apologize to the second prince. Say that I'm busy at the moment and make an appointment another day. Ah, yes. Master Fan. Wow. Except for the hideous Cheng Jashu, who stood motionless on the street, the people of the Inspection Institute looked at Master Fan Zan in front of them, covered in blood, holding a dead person in his arms. Is that Teng Zijing? They also felt no sympathy, and didn't know how to respond. Should they check Teng Zijing's injury? Or should they go forward to check whether Cheng Jashu is alive or dead? Or should they stop Fan Zan and ask him about the incident? Ta-ta. Teng Zijing is my good friend. Now that he is dead or alive, I need to bury him first. If you have any questions, we can talk about it later. Yes, Master Fan. Bang, suddenly there was an explosion, and Cheng Jashu turned into a blood mist and disappeared into the world along with his clothes. Hiss, what is going on? It's so weird. Could it be the work of Master Fan Zan? But what about the Order of Master Zhu, the head of the first division of the Inspection Institute? He sternly told us to bring Cheng Jashu back alive. Chapter 441 Deterrence. Bang, what did you say? Cheng Jashu is dead, turned into blood foam all over the sky, and died directly on the street. What should they do now? Zhu Jet, the head of the Inspection Institute, was sitting in front of the hall at this time. He had long lost the calmness of controlling the situation, because Fan Zan's sudden burst of terrifying strength not only killed Cheng Jashu, an 8th grade master of Northern Qi, in a method that had never been heard of before, but also disrupted all the deployments of their Inspection Institute, as well as the intelligence gathering on Fan Zan's true strength and details. How can they explain this to His Majesty, and how can they explain this to the other heads of the Inspection Institute? Yes, Lord Zhu. The spy from the Inspection Institute who reported the strange scene he saw not long ago still couldn't stop his scalp from tingling, and was in a state of panic. Cheng Jashu was one of the rare 8th grade peak masters in the world. He had a strong horizontal training kung fu and a true Qi cultivation close to that of a 9th grade warrior. He could completely challenge a higher level warrior head on. He never thought that Fan Zan, who looked gentle and had nothing to do with a warrior, could kill him with one blow. Snap. The second prince, who was sitting on Sea Lila's flower boat, had his teacup suddenly cracked not long ago, with unknown implications. He made an appointment with Fan Zan, but after the time passed, there was still no movement. Obviously, something unexpected happened. At this time, he received the news from his subordinates, and finally confirmed one thing. Ziban's sword that day was not broken by Fan Zan in any way to intimidate them. Fan Zan really had extremely terrifying strength. He could not only smash the sword of the 8th grade swordsman Ziban with one palm, but also take the life of Cheng Jashu in one move, leaving no trace of his body. However, since he had such strength, why did he let his good friend Teng Zijing sacrifice his life in vain? Brother, what happened to Guard Teng? Brother, didn't you go to the appointment with Teng Zijing? Why did you carry him back horizontally? He's dead. The blood on Luo Wen's body scared the servants and maids along the way in Fan Mansion. When he walked into his own yard, Fan Ruoro and Fan Sis were sitting on the tea table next to the patio drinking the golden silk mist tea in his house. The two of them also surrounded him with a look of doubt. There was an assassination attempt on Newland Street. Teng Zijing was killed for saving me. Please help me prepare a good coffin. I will help him to tidy up and arrange the funeral for his family. Luo Wen's calm tone made him seem cold and heartless. However, the sadness on his face was so sincere that Fan Ruoro and Fan Sis knew that Fan Zion was a little abnormal at this time and was in a very low mood. Brother, are you okay? Fan Sis looked at the deep pit on Teng Zijing's chest and took a big step back in fear. Fan Ruoro seemed to understand something. Okay, sis, let's go prepare the things that brother wants first. Leave this place to them and let them be quiet for a while. The slender woman with a sensible face pulled Fan Sis out of Luo Wen's courtyard. Heavenly resurrection technique. Quick. Under Luo Wen's left hand, Teng Zijing's body was constantly recovering, and the bloodstains were evaporating or falling off. The bright golden light on his right sword finger was like the highest divine power between heaven and earth. With a finger pointing, the 3 souls and 7 spirits wrapped in the spiritual light ball, Teng Zijing listened to everything happening in the outside world in a daze, but could not control his body. At this time, suddenly a force came, and he was directly swept around and flew. Cough, cough, brother Fan. What happened to me just now? Drink a cup of tea first, calm down, and then go wash your face. I will explain it to you slowly. The sadness and grief on Luo Wen's face had disappeared at this time. There was only infinite calmness and composure. Teng Zijing clearly remembered that Cheng Jiashu had smashed his internal organs with one punch, and then he was wrapped in a dark environment by a ball of light. He should be dead, and could not die anymore. He could only hear the sounds around him. He could neither move nor shout. He could do nothing except listening silently. He was uncomfortable and terrified, waiting until his eyes lit up, and his body seemed to have regained control. What he saw was the Fan Zion who had always been mysterious and kept a calm attitude towards everything. He was actually alive again. Miss, it's been rumored everywhere just now that a Northern Key warrior appeared on Neulan Street and attacked a carriage. Someone died. I heard that the carriage was Fan Zion's carriage from the Fan Mansion. Puff, hiss. The pain on the fingers was far less than the inexplicable panic and fear in her heart. Lin Wana was almost frightened by this bad news and fainted directly. It was a pity that after her illness was cured, her mental adaptability became stronger and stronger. Wan Qiu, what did you say? Master Fan's carriage? Could it be a misunderstanding? Or is it a mistake? Lin Wana had been feeling uneasy for a long time. It might be an intuition, or it might be because the magic medicine she took gave her a certain talent and stimulated her inherent potential. In short, Lin Wana was restless. She sat in the embroidery building and studied the Qi technique sent by Fan Zion. However, she was always easily distracted. She always felt that something bad was going to happen. Her fingers were accidentally pricked by the needle and blood flowed out. Unexpectedly, it actually happened to Fan Zion. Papa, clank. In the imperial study of the palace, the prince and the second prince who were kneeling on the ground were also terrified at this time. Although they knew that Fan Zion's assassination today would inevitably set off a huge wave, they did not expect that their father would be so furious. The arrow feathers on the ground, as well as the crossbow with blood foam residue, are obviously the murder weapons used in the Neulan Street assassination. Who did the assassination today? His father. I may be confused, but I won't be so rebellious. Prince Li Qingqian, while bowing his hands to defend himself, lowered his eyes, but there was a panic. He failed. He actually failed. What went wrong? Father, Fan Zion and I have a good relationship. There is really no reason to kill him. He came to keep my appointment today. How could I be so stupid to bring trouble upon myself and be criticized? The second prince, on the other hand, had a calm face, with an indescribable anger in his eyes, as if he was also indignant about Fan Zion's assassination, or felt indignant. Oh, then who do you think is the real murderer behind this assassination? Emperor King seldom reveals his emotions, at least in front of his ministers or the people of the world. He has always been calm and composed, except for being so angry that he threw the murder weapon to the ground. Now he has regained his previous calmness. Father, the assassin Cheng Jiashu is a warrior from Northern Qi. Perhaps it is a conspiracy of Northern Qi. There may be only a few people in the world who want Fan Zion dead, but it is not that difficult to find a reason to shirk responsibility. Otherwise, why would a warrior from Northern Key take action in the capital of King? Perhaps this is just a trick of the person behind the scenes to divert the trouble. Oh, what the prince said makes sense, but I don't quite understand why Northern Key killed Fan Zion. Could it be that they were out of righteous indignation and wanted to avenge Guo Baoken? Hiss this. Father, please don't believe what my second brother said. I would never collude with that Northern Key warrior to seek revenge for Guo Baoken. Doesn't this make me a despicable villain who betrayed his loyalty and rebelled against the kingdom of King? The fearful prince bowed to the end. No matter if it was related to him or not, as long as such a crime was put on his head, let alone the position of crown prince, it would be hard to say whether his life could be saved. He would never admit it, even if he was beaten to death. Oh, of course I believe the prince, but I really can't think of who else Fan Zion has a grudge against in Kyoto. Humph, second brother, you know that people's words are scary. Chapter 442, Morality Among Friends. Do you think that killing people can solve the problem? Creak, creak. In front of the two princes who each had their own concerns, Emperor King, with a serious face, was pacing slowly, and in his deep eyes, that could not see his thoughts. Perhaps, there was also a trace of fear. Fortunately, the child did not die in vain. Reporting to the Emperor, the world is turbulent and complicated. How can it be solved simply by killing people? Prince Li Chengqian's words were so righteous. Yes, I think so too. At this time, no matter from which angle, the second prince also expressed his agreement. At least on matters of right and wrong, great benevolence and righteousness, he dared not speak recklessly. Oh, but I think it's okay. Fan Zion tried to stop me. Kill Fan Zion. If the government office becomes suspicious, kill the government office. If the Inspection Institute investigates, you can kill everyone in the Inspection Institute. If I become suspicious, of course you can kill me. With a plop, both Li Chengs and Li Chengqian were frightened by Emperor King's words and fell to the ground. I dare not. Humph, killing people can certainly solve the problem, but that is the delusion of unforgivable people. The key is that you don't have that kind of strength and means. Father, if I have such an intention, I will be punished by heaven and earth. I think so too. Then don't test me with words. How can you rule the world without mercy? Gurgle. His throat rolled. His heart was in uproar. The two princes who were burying their heads in humility and respect seemed to hear the subtext of Emperor King from this sentence. You are so bold and presumptuous. You are defying the law of the country. Well, you can go down now. Yes. Tap, tap, Your Majesty, the Inspection Institute has sent a secret report. The two princes quietly took their leave, leaving only Emperor King and Eunuch Hao, who had just walked in the Imperial study. Wow. Opening the letter, Emperor King quickly scanned the text. Oh, the Inspection Institute wants to take back Fan Zion's badge and hold him accountable for murder in the street because he disrupted the Institute's arrangements and intensified the friction on the border between Northern Key and my King Kingdom. Your Majesty, Master Fan Zion reminded me at the beginning, and his strength has not been fully explored yet. What about this secret report from the Inspection Institute? Okay, tell Fan Zion about this, and let him handle it himself. We will just quietly watch how he continues his act. After dark, there was silence in the Fan Mansion. All the servants seemed to know that the amiable young master was particularly depressed because of the death of his good friend, so it was not a good idea to disturb him. After Luo Wen and Teng Zijing finished their explanation, they cast the magic again, making him lie in the coffin in a neat and tidy appearance. They only placed incense and candles in the courtyard and burned paper money. Even Fan Ruoro and Fan Sis did not dare to disturb him anymore and left their brother's courtyard, leaving this space to the two of them. After dawn, Luo Wen drove the coffin to the suburbs by himself. He exuded coldness and murderousness. No one dared to disturb him, including Wang Qinian, who came to deliver the message, and the spies who wanted to invite him back to the Inspection Institute. Knock knock. Mom, why didn't you sleep all night? And why didn't you turn off the lights? Oh, by the way, I want to go to the city today to buy some candied horse for my friend who lives in the box. Oh, okay. Remember not to play too late and come back early. Teng Zijing didn't come home all night, and his wife seemed to have a bad premonition. The young child only remembered his playmates and interesting things, and had no idea what big thing had happened. Until a quarter of an hour later, knock knock, sister-in-law, Teng Zijing died because of me. I'm sorry for you. Woo woo, plop. Her legs were no longer able to support her, and she fell to the ground. Looking at the coffin sent by the son of the Fan family and the deep apology on his face, she felt as if her whole heart had been hollowed out. Wow, I knew it. There must have been some accident, otherwise he wouldn't have stayed out all night, and not even brought back a letter. Woo, Mr. Fan, I don't blame you, I can only blame our miserable fate. My husband said that you have been very kind to him and our family, and I have no way to repay you, and I can only use my life to serve you. I know that this day will come sooner or later. Teng Zijing's wife, who was crying bitterly, seemed to have been mentally prepared for today's situation in this happy and peaceful life. Or, when Teng Zijing was alone in the dead of night, the couple had already discussed this worst case plan. Kia, go and bring back the child, escort my sister-in-law and Teng Zijing's coffins, and leave Kyoto. Yes. Two young men in black robes suddenly appeared in the empty house in the forest. After they appeared and received the order, their figures disappeared into the air again, and the place returned to peace. Catcher, my wife, I'm not dead. The spies around had already seen the scene that Luo Wen wanted them to see. Naturally, the true feelings between the couple came to an end. There was no need to be sad and grieving anymore. Hiss, what? The city of Kyoto is full of dangers. Brother Teng has already paid with his life to repay his gratitude. For the sake of your wife and children, why don't you follow the advice of your friend and stay away from this place of trouble? Luo Wen's good intentions, even going through so much trouble to arrange and perform, were just to make Teng Zijing willing. Brother Fan, Teng Zijing, will never be able to repay you in this lifetime. Why are you so good to an ordinary warrior like me? Is it really just for the sake of friendship? Haha, your loyalty and sincerity have given me a new understanding of the good and evil in this world. When I make friends with someone, I never care about his identity, birth, or background. A friend is a friend. Okay, after leaving Kyoto, my two disciples will escort you to Dan's how to take a boat out to sea. Perhaps, one day, when this continent becomes a pure land on Earth again, it will not be too late for you to come back. Drink today and worry about tomorrow. Chanting to himself, Luo Wen sat in the carriage, holding a small wine pot without any image, a poem with a sip of fine wine, so lonely, so comfortable. It seems that Teng Zijing's death has also inspired Fan Zha and Mr. Fan to write poetry. The passers-by around, and the city guards at the city gate, did not dare to disturb him, but just silently admired his poetry and literary talent. Master Fan, stop drinking. I know you are upset, but the Inspection Institute is sending people to look for you. Go home quickly, and let your father come forward to mediate. Swish, Wan Kinyan, at this time, saw Fan Zion sitting in an empty carriage, and entering the city, and hurried forward to get close to him. What does it mean? Brother Wang, Teng Zijing just died. Why did the Inspection Bureau look for me? Just now, the eunuch Hao from the palace found me, and asked me to advise you, that it's better to be open-minded about everything. We who are still alive should not be too obsessed with pain. The Inspection Bureau said that you killed someone in the street and ruined their big plan, so they want to hold you accountable. Oh, they want to hold me accountable? They also want me to go home and ask Fan Jian, their father, for help? What kind of bullshit logic is this? It means that I can't fight back if I'm assassinated, and I've ruined the Inspection Bureau's big plan. What the hell have they been doing before? Oh, that's perfect. I also want to go to the Inspection Bureau to ask. As the world's #1 intelligence agency that makes people tremble with fear, they were actually infiltrated by the Northern Key assassins in the city of Kyoto, and use the powerful crossbows in the army to assassinate a small figure like me. Why are they holding me accountable? Where are their faces? Go. Lord Fan, wait for me. Chapter 443, Riot at the Inspection Institute. Hey, Master Fan. Master Zuge is handling official business. Please don't disturb him. The empty carriage was thrown by Luo Wen at the gate of the Inspection Institute. The yellow man horse stood there honestly, not feeling uneasy or scared. Want to leave? Besides, who dares to steal things at the gate of the Inspection Institute? Luo Wen, with heavy steps, borrowed the anger of the death of his friend, with a cold and serious expression, as if he wanted to seek revenge. Few people dared to step forward to ask questions, until he walked to the door of a main building. Two guards of the Inspection Institute in silver patterned black robes reached out to stop him. Not to mention that I'm the chief inspector of the Inspection Institute. My status is only below that of the dean, and you have no right to stop me. The key is that with your 4th grade strength, how can you be confident that you can stop me? It's my duty. Please forgive me, Lord Fan. Oh, what a good sentence about my duty, ZHUJ. I heard that you want to take back my chief inspector badge and want to hold me accountable. Do you just want me to come in and kill you? Boom, the lampposts on both sides were crushed into powder by Luo Wen's momentum, and the two guards of the Inspection Institute who were holding the hilt of the sword were dizzy and pale at this time. They might have been frightened by such terrifying pressure. Bang. Oh, my little Lord Fan, how could you lose your mind and start fighting? Wan Kinyan, who followed closely, was still a step too late. The two trembling and frightened guards also saw the horror scene that had never happened since they entered the hospital. The door of a main office was knocked down directly to the ground, and Lord Zuge was oppressed by the momentum and fell to his knees. This Fan Zion, don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you are so powerful. Don't forget that this is the Inspection Institute. Zuge, who has a tuft of mustache and a thin and vicious figure, is seeing the much talked about poet Fan Zion for the first time. It is indeed as the outside world says, with an outstanding figure and extraordinary temperament. However, he actually has such a terrifying power. Is he a 9th rank or a young master? Inspection Institute. What an Inspection Institute. The founding stone tablet stands in front of the door. The admonitions on it are deafening. The lofty ambitions attract people to follow, but you have failed to live up to the lofty expectations and become a cancer that does not distinguish right from wrong and has no morality. You, Fan Zion, you can insult me, but how can you shamelessly slander our Inspection Institute? Luo Wen's tone was impolite, and ZHUJ also stiffened his neck and refuted with excitement. Teng Zijing received a secret order to go to Dan's how to kill the traitor. Is this the method of the Inspection Institute? There are so many injustices in the world, but you just pretend not to see them. Is this the Inspection Institute? The assassins of the Northern Key gathered in Kyoto and assassinated in the street. Until now, the mastermind behind the scenes has not been found, but I, the victim, am blamed. Moreover, I'm the director of the Inspection Institute, and there are constant internal struggles. Is this the Inspection Institute? The teasing on Luo Wen's face made people feel ashamed. Before Wan Kinyan and ZHUJ could say anything, Luo Wen had already taken out the waist badge of the secretary from his arms. Snap. There was a slight sound, and with the breeze outside the door frame, the metal powder in the air was floating in the wind. Hiss. What a huge force. What a superb skill of using force. But why can't I feel the existence of true energy? You don't have to take the waist badge of the secretary from me. I don't like it, so I'll give it back to you. But remember what I said today. Anyone who blocks me will be killed without mercy. Creak, creak. Luo Wen, with a cold face, turned around with a satisfied smile on his face. However, the suppression of his withdrawn mental power and the extremely terrifying slight pressure, ZHUJ, who regained his freedom, couldn't stand up from the humiliated posture of kneeling on the ground for a long time. I wonder if it was Luo Wen's words that hit him, or he couldn't accept the humiliating scene of being pointed at and kneeling on the ground to be lectured. Rustling. Wait. Fan Zion, please stay. Luo Wen had just walked out of the collapsed door, and the smile on his lips had already faded because someone else had come. The old man in a black robe with purple patterns on his face was quite elegant and gentlemanly, but he was a little old and didn't have the frivolity and impulsiveness of young people. Otherwise, when he was young, he must have been a modest scholar who attracted thousands of girls. Oh, who are you? I'm Yan Ruohei, the head of the four-way office. The noise here just sounded, and ZHUJ and Wang Qinian in the house were also broken from the awkward dilemma and immediately came out of the house. In the corridor of the high courtyard wall, Yan Ruohei, with a cold face, brought a group of his men from the four-way office and blocked in front of Fan Zun. Old Yan, quickly stop this ignorant boy. Wang Qinian, meet Lord Yan. Okay, I'm not here to make things difficult for Fan Zun. Although he caused my son to be banished from the capital, I have the emperor's order and have to obey. Oh, this old handsome guy with a profound face turned out to be Yan Binggan's biological father? But what does this have to do with me? You are Yan Ruohei. Ah, that's right. In the eyes of everyone in Kyoto, Fan Zun is just an illegitimate child who has no one to rely on and is involved in the financial power dispute of the inner treasury by virtue of his marriage to the princess of the Lin family. What if he has poetic talent and martial arts? Without power and influence, he is just an insignificant wild boy. Now, he is using force to threaten ZHUJ, the head of the first place, and he is also rude and calls Yan Ruohei, the head of the fourth place, by name. Does he want to offend all the people in charge of the Inspection Institute? They were staring at Luo Wen with a look of sympathy and looking at him as a fool. It seems that I was assassinated, and Teng Zijing, who was ordered to come here, is your subordinate? Snap. The figure was like a ghost, and after a crisp sound, Yan Ruohei's figure was no longer there where he was standing in a mysterious place. Puff, a mouthful of blood spurted out, and Yan Ruohei, with a look of horror and murderous intent, had already knelt on the ground against the wall, seriously injured. He just had a flash in front of his eyes, and even if he raised all his true energy, he still had no power to resist. Moreover, he was slapped in the face by this young Fan Zun, and his dignity and face were all lost. You are powerless to control your subordinates, and you look down on me and spare me this time. Where do you get the confidence? If Yan Binggan were here, I would definitely take his life. You think he was demoted from the capital? Haha, I think he is lucky to escape. Remember, he can't hide forever in Northern Qi. There was an assassination in Neulan Street today. The perpetrators included a master from Northern Qi and a female swordsman from Dangai City. I will avenge them myself. Both Northern Qi and Dangai City will pay a price for this. However, please do not let me find out who is the mastermind behind this, and whether it is related to your Inspection Institute and King Kingdom. Otherwise, I will massacre all the dignitaries in the court and your Inspection Institute. Creak, creak, put your swords back. Do not mistake my kindness for your courage and fearlessness. For the sake of the founder of the institute, live well. By the way, Yan Ruohei, take back the imperial order from you, and do not take chicken feathers as a token of authority. That person cannot afford my face. He's lawless and arrogant to the extreme, but in front of this young man, those guards of the Inspection Institute who drew their swords did not dare to have the slightest idea of resistance or disobedience. Chapter 444. Investigate the case seriously. Luo Wen left the inspection office, shocking many people, and beyond the expectations and control of some people. After his shocking move, whether it was the inspection office or the Imperial Palace, it seemed to be suddenly quiet, without any follow-up actions, just like a beast holding its breath, ready to choose a person to devour, feeling the strength of the enemy, and then sneaking into the dark, ready to find out the details, before waiting for an opportunity to move. Late at night, Luo Wen, dressed in a green gown, followed the source of the weapons, and came alone to the outside of the palace guarded by the Kyoto Patrol City Division. There were countless pavilions and towers, brightly lit, and groups of slaves and maids. It was another upper class. Luo Wen was very disdainful of these hypocritical dignitaries. Although he was now incarnated as Fan Zun, he also belonged to their category. However, Luo Wen's substitution of such an identity was obviously very rare. However, the courtyard was devoid of life, and there was a quiet and dead atmosphere. Luo Wen did not plan to go in to investigate the details. Needless to say, the entire family of Lieutenant General Chen, including those innocent servants, were killed. Haha, it turns out that the Northern Qi Kingdom and the Dangai City are just superficial disguises. What a good method. Killing people is fine, but they also colluded with each other inside and outside, and joined forces with many parties. I really don't know how many people participated in this assassination. Since there are no survivors left here, Luo Wen does not want to use the method of soul catching and soul refining to conduct inhumane interrogation. After all, this family has paid the price of their lives for Lieutenant General Chen's mistake, so why bother their souls again? Whoosh, Master Xiaofan, Master Xiaofan. Wan Qinian. In the darkness of night, the sweaty miser unexpectedly appeared on the street from the high wall of the courtyard. Seeing his nervous expression and the action of turning his head back, could it be that he did something illegal and was dismissed by the Inspection Institute? Oh, Brother Wang, what's the matter with you? Why are you here in such a hurry? Oh, Lord Fan, you know that I was determined to be loyal to you. After listening to your words at Teng Zijing's house that day, why did you just hand over the waste card of the Commissioner of Justice and leave alone? It made me look for you so hard. The oppression of human nature by the feudal dynasty, as well as the deep-rooted concept of the imperial power being determined by heaven, is Wan Qinian's brain filled with water? Otherwise, how dare he get so close to a treasonous person like me? There must be something wrong when things are abnormal. It seems that the secret of Wan Qinian is still worth pondering. Haha, I know that Lord Fan doubts my motives. However, I firmly believe that time will tell. Please give me a chance, Lord Fan, and I will prove to you that I have no ill will or bad intentions towards you. Besides, I have just been dismissed and investigated by Lord Zhu Jie for secretly checking official documents in the Inspection Institute. Only a big shot like you can give me a place to stay. Rebellion, surrendering to the enemy, stealing confidential information. Who on earth gave Wan Qinian the secret order to dare to do such a thing? Brother Wang, you're joking. Since you have nowhere else to stay, then just follow me for the time being. However, you said that you secretly checked the official documents. Was it because of the assassination on Newland Street? Oh, thank you Lord Xiaofan for taking me in. I'm very grateful. Yes. Since I've come to seek refuge with Lord Xiaofan, of course I have to play my role, right? The Inspection Institute has secretly collected a lot of information about the assassination, and I have it all in my mind now. Let me explain it to you slowly. In the Newland Street assassination, the female assassin was confirmed to be a warrior from Dangai City, and she was also the disciple of the Grandmaster Sigu Jian. And Cheng Jiashu, in addition to being a secret agent of Northern Qi, was valued by the Inspection Institute because Northern Qi wanted to use Cheng Jiashu to create some false information for King State. However, the Inspection Institute wanted to do the opposite and spy on Northern Qi's military arrangements based on the false information. It's a pity that Luo Wen ruined the plan. Since Luo Wen and the Inspection Institute have fallen out, and it is not convenient to continue to investigate in other countries for the time being, let's put these two aspects aside for now. On the contrary, the weapons that left traces in Luo Wen's whereabouts this time are two directions that can be further explored. Of course, now that the whole family of Lieutenant General Chen has been killed, the key is that they died silently just before Luo Wen arrived. This can only mean that the person behind the scenes has a huge influence in Kyoto and has a lot of connections. Luo Wen doesn't need to guess who it is. It's nothing more than the lineage of the two princes or the high and mighty emperor. As for the others, Luo Wen feels that he has not threatened to that extent and they don't have such a powerful hand. Then there is only one direction left to continue to investigate. Who leaked his whereabouts? The second prince has already sent the crown prince to apologize during the day. His attitude is extremely sincere, and he is the most suspicious. If something really happens to me, he will be the first one to be suspected. It's too deliberate and unlikely. But, apart from my family, the only person who knows in advance that I'm going to attend the banquet is Zhu Xianju, which is the most suspicious. Wan Qinian had to admire Luo Wen's analysis, and it also corresponded to the intelligence he had obtained. Master Xiaofan, I was just about to tell you the most abnormal piece of information. There was a fire in Zhu Xianju during the day. Fortunately, there were no casualties. It was just a flower boat in the river bend. Coincidentally, its owner was the extremely beautiful Miss Celia, who was quite in love with you. Oh, this woman is really of unknown origin and is deeply involved. Since no one was injured or killed, why did you tell me specifically? Wan Kinian was about to say something when he saw a hint of emotion on the boy's face. Unfortunately, he was destined to be disappointed. Luo Wen only had a good impression of Lin Wana, who seemed quite good to him. They were not yet at the stage of meeting each other every day. He was cautious by nature and treated his feelings very seriously and carefully. If he had not had to, he might not even have boarded Lily's boat. How could it be possible that the talented man and the beautiful woman had a beautiful and fascinating story as rumored by the outside world? Oh, I knew that nothing can be hidden from you, Master Xiaofan. The strange thing is that there are no casualties, but Miss Lily is missing. After further investigation, we found that the flower boat was burned in the afternoon. Lily did not wait for the flower boat to burn out and left the city directly. And as soon as she arrived outside the north gate, there were several knights dressed like her, with black veils and cloaks covering their bodies, who split into 6 groups and fled. Oh, masked, fast horses, and divided into several groups to confuse the enemy, and before leaving, they did not forget to burn the boat to attract attention. Lily was afraid that others would not know, and her identity would be exposed. Did she come to Kyoto with a secret? And it happened that Fan Xian was assassinated in Newland Street. Any normal person would doubt her. Never mind, since it is related to her, then. Spiritual perception. Luo Wen's pupils turned golden in an instant. Such a strange change scared Wan Kinian beside him. Instead of trying to escape, she rested in a small village 5 kilometers outside the city. Luo Wen just tried it casually, and he really sensed that his jade talisman was not in Kyoto City. Then he released his spiritual sense along the perception, and soon saw the tempting Lily, who was lying on the bamboo bed, with her eyes open thinking about her worries. She was reluctant to put down the jade talisman in her hand, but had a weird expression on her face. Reluctant, nostalgic, regretful. She left and didn't forget to throw away the small gift I gave her. It seems that she still carries it with her and cherishes it very much. This is also what Luo Wen didn't expect. Although it saved him the time to slowly explore, but with such a result, Luo Wen suddenly felt a little confused and didn't know what to do. It would be easy for Luo Wen to catch this woman, of course. He could use magic and divine thoughts at any time. However, if Lily was brought back to Kyoto, she might die if we are not careful. The whole family of Lieutenant General Chen was wiped out, and it is obviously impossible for her, and not Iku, to survive alone. Keep her with him? No, no, no. How should he explain to Lin Wana? It is hard to explain that she was hurt once, and it happened again. But if he doesn't catch her, how can he make those who are behind it willingly bow their heads and confess their crimes and die clearly? Sir, aren't we going to chase her now? Chase? Of course we should. Otherwise, who should I find to avenge Teng Zijing? Chapter 445. Clouds moving in all directions. What? Are you telling the truth? Fan Xian beat Yan Ruohe severely in front of everyone in the inspection institute and didn't give him any face at all, saying that it was Yan Bingyan's fault and he would pay with his life when he returned to King Kingdom. At this moment, Emperor King felt that everything he had carefully planned was completely destroyed by the treacherous Fan Xian. Could it be that the child was really the 6th master in the world? If so, with Wu Zhu, wouldn't there be no one in Kyoto who could stop him? So many days have passed. Why is Fan Xian the only one in Kyoto, and there is no news about Wu Zhu? In Emperor King's mind, thoughts were flying, and the expression on his face was changing. Your Majesty, what's the matter? The Institute of Investigation, the Ministry of Justice, the Kyoto Prefecture, and the 5 military governors' office are all waiting for your Majesty's order before they can take down Fan Xian. He doesn't even take you seriously. Tick tock, tick tock. Cold sweat kept dripping from Eunuch Hao's lowered forehead. It seemed that he was so scared because he knew that there were too many connections involved. Capture Fan Xian? There are so many people who don't take me seriously. Why don't they arrest them one by one? Also, the Li dynasty, the civil and military officials, are getting more and more arrogant now. I haven't ordered them to arrest anyone. How dare they join forces to force the emperor to abdicate? Your Majesty, calm down. Your Majesty, calm down. They are also for the dignity of the royal family, Your Majesty. The gate of Kyoto in the morning was a busy and noisy scene. Sir Fan, if we just wait here, can we really catch Sea Lily? Wan Kinyan, who seemed to be hesitant to speak, still seemed a little unbelievable because Luo Wen's eyes were shining with gold at night, and after whispering a few words, he actually knew Sea Lily's whereabouts very well. He said that they didn't need to chase her today, Sea Lily would come to her door by herself. Isn't this too unreasonable? The most important thing is that he has just joined Fan Zion School as one of the two tracking masters of the Inspection Institute. Doesn't this mean that he has no chance to show off at all? Stop, who's on the carriage? Come out for inspection. Not only the city guards strictly control the true identity of every person leaving the city, but also the carriages and trucks are carefully checked, causing the already crowded morning city gate to become even more crowded with long queues. Pedestrians and caravans entering the city, on the contrary, were simply allowed to pass after just a glance. As the saying goes, strict exit and lenient entry. This is probably what it means. Disperse, disperse. A burst of neat footsteps sounded, and then officers and soldiers and the army in various costumes surrounded Fan Zion and Wan Kinyan, who were standing quietly at a corner of the city gate. Hiss, no, it's the city guards, the Ministry of Justice, the Governor's Office, and the Inspection Office. Wan Kinyan hid behind Luo Wen with a whoosh, as if he thought that Luo Wen's slender figure could cover his somewhat plump figure. He is not young, but his ideas are naive. Fan Zion, we won't bother with you, because you made a scene in the inspection office yesterday. Now we are going to arrest Wan Kinyan for questioning. You'd better get out of the way. Zhu Jet, who looked a little scared, and Yan Ruohei, who looked pale and about to fall off the horse, now looked at Fan Zion in front of him, and understood the word caution. I'm standing here. Anyone who gets close will die. If you have the ability, you can go forward and try. This. They really just wanted to arrest Wan Kinyan for questioning, not to kill him. But, isn't Fan Zion too overbearing? Sir, the spy reported that the 6 masters who chased Sea Lily have all returned without success. She seems to have disappeared. Well, what? Is it a trick to lure the tiger away from the mountain? Oh no, we've been fooled. The inspection office didn't dare to step forward rashly, let alone other government offices. The key point is that when a subordinate stepped forward to report and whispered, Zhu and Yan Ruohei's faces changed drastically. At this moment, creak, creak, stop. Sir, I'm a farmer delivering vegetables to the restaurant in the city. I don't know how I offended you. Please give me some convenience. Otherwise, if I delay, they will deduct my payment. The large army over there, neither leaving nor staying, had to occupy half of the street, waiting for instructions from above, and Luo Wen suddenly walked from the roadside to a cart entering the city and stopped him. Did Fan Zion discover something? I can let you go, just pretend that you know nothing. Now drive the carriage to Fan Mansion. I will buy this cart of vegetables. What do you think, Miss Sea Lily? Hiss this. Yes. Since you like my goods so much, I will deliver them to your house right away. Right away. A female voice was faintly instructing and ordering the farmer driving the cart to cooperate in the basket of vegetables on the cart, and the farmer also had great acting skills and agreed loudly. Old Yan, isn't Fan Zion standing at the city gate early in the morning to track down Sea Lily? How can he still think about buying vegetables for his family? I don't know either, but Fan Zion is a cunning person with a very fickle personality. Is there something wrong with this carriage? Every passerby is always curious. Why is there a graceful and extraordinary young man standing on the roadside? On the other side, what is the purpose of the officers and soldiers who are vaguely surrounding and guarding against him? Unfortunately, Luo Wen took Wan Kinyan with him. To everyone's surprise, he led the farmer who was delivering vegetables into the city and turned to go into the city. He didn't care about his image at all and sat directly on the farmer's cart. Clang, creak. Okay, you can leave. Yes, young master. His eyes were full of uneasiness, and his expression and movements were alert and unwilling. Unfortunately, since Sea Lily in the vegetable basket had given the order, he could only obey. Master Fan, you are indeed very good at predicting things, and in front of so many masters, you brought C. Lily back to the fan mansion openly. I admire you so much. Luo Wen casually handed over a silver note of 50 teals, which stimulated Wang Qinian a lot. No matter how you look at it, 50 teals are enough to buy a carriage and horses. How can you just buy a cart of vegetables and a few bags of grain and beans? Well, I think brother Wang must be worried about his family at this time. You have worked hard with me all night, so this will be your monthly salary. You go back and settle your family, wash up and have a good rest, and come over after lunch. Without further ado, Luo Wen stuffed 2 silver bills into Wang Qinian's hands, then turned and walked towards the basket of vegetables that was moved into the backyard. Thank you, Master Xiao-fan. Haha, I knew that Master Xiao-fan would be extraordinary. He got the money, and it wasn't really that hard. He made a lot of money. How much does the Inspection Institute make per month? A small clerk like him has to rely on part-time jobs to support his family, so naturally it's not much. Although Wang Qinian still wanted to stay and see if the basket contained C. Lily. After all, she was the top courtesan of Zuxianju. As a man, who wouldn't want to see her beauty? But now that he had the money and Luo Wen gave him an order, Wang Qinian couldn't disobey, and he knew the importance of the word knowing what's interesting. Creak, creak. The footsteps disappeared. Snap. The basket of green vegetables covering the basket was pushed open from the inside. C. Lily, wearing an ordinary peasant woman's hairpin, although she lacked the gorgeousness and nobility of the flower boat, but she also had more authenticity and simplicity. What remained unchanged was that she was still dazzling and beautiful. Lily, hello to Mr. Fan. We didn't expect to meet in this situation after we parted in the court that day. Haha, C. Lily was laughing, and she was laughing very happily because she saw the person she was meeting, and she was not caught by someone in the government office. Although C. Lily didn't know where her confidence came from, she had a kind of intuition that was unique to women. Although her whereabouts were exposed, she fell into the hands of Mr. Fan Zion, and he would be able to protect her safety. It was really incredible. Anyone with a little bit of common sense knew that this was Kyoto. She was a woman who had exposed her identity as a spy from Northern Qi and was also involved in an assassination case. It was impossible for her to survive or not be silenced. However, standing in front of this handsome man with a calm face, C. Lily felt extremely relieved and relaxed. Yes, we haven't seen each other for a while. Things are unpredictable. Miss C. Lily, if you don't mind, how about staying in my yard for a while? Swish. He wanted me to stay and in his yard, right? Oh, in this case, isn't Mr. Fan afraid of the outside world's criticism of you? C. Lily was of course willing. Whether it was for her own life or her true thoughts, she was willing. However, in this way, I'm afraid that the behind-the-scenes forces of the entire Kyoto will be resisted by Mr. Fan Zun. Can he resist it? The back door is right here. If Miss C. Lily doesn't want to believe what Fan said, you can leave on your own. At least before everyone reacts, you still have time to think about it. No, no, no. If Lily is willing, then I'll trouble Master Fan. Haha. C. Lily, with a sweet smile, was like a young wife who was brought back from her husband's mother's home. She followed closely behind Fan Zan, who was striding forward. And in her eyes at this moment, Fan Zan's back was so majestic and indestructible. Hello, Master. Well, by the way, this is Miss C. Lily, my friend. From today on, she will live in my yard. You clean up the east wing and let her stay. Oh, I see, Master. The maid, with eyes full of admiration and surprise, put down the copper basin in her hand and went to find someone to help. It seemed that her excited heart couldn't wait to tell others about the latest shocking news she had seen. Oh, is it just the east wing? She even secretly thought that Fan Zan would arrange a personal maid for her. C. Lily's expression behind her was very strange, and she didn't know whether she was happy or unwilling. Anyway, Luo Wen was still leading the way, so it was better not to study her ideas. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 446, revealing his own life story. Hey, brother, why did you bring a young outsider directly to the mansion to settle down? In just a moment, everyone in the fan mansion knew about the big news that their young master Fanzan brought in a beautiful woman who was dressed in ordinary clothes, but had a stunning appearance from the back door, and was arranging for her to live in his yard. The first person who heard the news was Fan Ruoruo, who was ashamed and angry. It was just a little strange. Didn't she always listen to Fanzan and defend and speak for him, no matter what he did, like a die-hard fan? Why did she want to call him to task today? Oh my god, brother, you are really a role model for our generation. You even brought your mistress home. Hello, little sister-in-law. I'm Fancies and Fanzan is my brother. Sis, stop messing around. Fancies has always been a person who likes to watch the fun and not mind getting involved. The first thing he did when he walked in was to run to see Lily to show his affection. The bookstore was ready and about to open. The princess of the Lin family and Fanzan were engaged, but this mistress could not be offended. He knew it clearly. However, it's true that the eldest brother is the eldest brother. He found a mistress who is so beautiful. Isn't she too beautiful? Liu Ruiu, the mistress of the fan mansion, who was following closely behind Fancies, was also a little caught off guard at this time. She didn't know how to preach to Fanzan, the illegitimate son. She just pulled Fancies back and didn't let him continue to talk nonsense. Lily, meet Madame Fan. This must be the sister of Ruoruo, the most talented lady in Kyoto. It turns out to be Mr. Fan's brother. He is really smart and cute. See, Lily bowed gracefully, showing all the charm and elegance of a lady from a noble family. However, when she talked about Fancies, she was obviously at a loss for words and paused for a while. Aunt, I will explain this to my father. I'm sorry to bother you. Since Ziona knows the answer, I can't say anything more. But don't forget that you are still engaged to the princess. Alas, young people are passionate and active, and it is normal for youth to be aroused. However, Liu Ruiu thought that Fanzan would be an accident. At least he shouldn't be so frivolous. Did she misjudge him after all? Sis, why aren't you leaving? Mom, my brother and I still have things to discuss about the bookstore. You go back first. Never mind. Creak, creak. What else can Liu Ruiu do? In broad daylight, since the incident has already happened, she can only take one step at a time. As a concubine, she can't control Fanzan, nor can she nip the problem in the bud and control her son too tightly. After all, this matter has nothing to do with him. Ruoruo, you go into the house first. I'll send her back to her room, and then come over to explain it to you slowly. Luo Wen was a little helpless, especially the little girl who was sulking for no reason, and had complicated emotions, and she couldn't cope with it. However, he could still explain today's incident clearly. Fortunately, he didn't really have a concubine. Sister-in-law, I heard that you are the most beautiful courtesan in Zuxianju. Is that true? What kind of prostitutes are there in Zuxianju? How many people come there on weekdays? And what's the average consumption per person? How much is the redemption price for each prostitute? Do they get a monthly salary or a performance commission? Sis, go inside and wait with your sister. If you ask more, I will regret it about the bookstore. No. Brother, dear brother, can't I stop asking? I just chatted with my sister-in-law, because I see she is not an outsider. You are so stingy. See, Lily covered her mouth and chuckled. Her charming eyes touched Luo Wen's heart. He moved his mind and activated the Kinksanju. Miss C. Lily, I will take you back to the room first. After you wash up and rest, we will talk slowly. Well, everything is up to Master Fan. What? She is a spy from Northern Key, and many people want her life now, and many people want to get information from her. Will C. Lily run away? Luo Wen felt that a smart person like her, who even disguised herself and did not forget to put on delicate light makeup, should not run away. At least she would not make any unusual moves before she knew her background or attitude. Besides, where can she escape to? Now the whole capital is full of people who want to capture her and ask for credit, and there are countless people who want to silence her. Luo Wen has the strength in this absolutely safe courtyard. I'm afraid that the 4 great masters dare not easily wade into this muddy water. In the early morning of the Fan Mansion, Fan Ruoro and Francis, who haven't even had breakfast yet, only feel the desire for food, which is far less exciting than the heavy news from their brother. She participated in the Newland Street assassination case. What? The next sentence of Luo Wen shocked Fan Ruoro and Francis, the 2 half-siblings, so much that they couldn't close their mouths. Brother, you know she participated in the assassination. Why are you still so nice to her? Why don't you just send her to the Ministry of Justice to be questioned? Humph. Fan Ruoro, who was angry, changed her position instantly from a complex emotion of jealousy, unhappiness, and irritability. She felt that Sea Lily in the East Wing was unforgivable. How dare she kill her brother Fanzan? She may not be deeply involved, but just knew about it. Otherwise, I would kill her the first time I saw her. Hissa, brother, such a beautiful sister-in-law. How could you kill her? Fancy's face changed, as if he was frightened by the murderosaur leaked by Luo Wen. Fortunately, the murderosaur came and went quickly, and did not cause any bad effects. They should be killed. All those who dare to harbor malice towards my brother should be killed. Instead, Fan Ruoro, who saw Luo Wen's attitude clearly, cheered and encouraged on the side, and smiled happily. As for killing, she didn't seem to have any so-called psychological burden. That's right, human life is worthless. In this era, the proportion of people who would be scared by the word murder should be extremely small. Since I was born, there have always been people who want me dead. It was like this in Danzhou, and it's even worse in Kyoto. I'm afraid that the name of Fanzine will not bring any possibility of change. You know, I'm not my father's biological blood, right? Dang, dang, dang. The big drum beats 3 times. Francis and Fan Ruoro looked at their brother in disbelief. They never thought that Fanzine was not a blood relative to them. Brother, how did you know that you are not my father's biological blood? Yes, brother, if you know your life experience, why do you recognize our father? Oh, as a child of the Fan family, the first reaction was not to doubt my motives, but to be concerned and nervous. Is this reluctance, or have you already regarded me as your own family? Since I was born, there have been people trying to assassinate me. Didn't I say that? The day I opened my eyes, I had memories. I escaped from the royal villa in Kyoto, was taken out of Kyoto by a blind guard, and then fostered in the Fan Mansion in Danzhou. So, you can be said to be my brother and sister, but not really my brother and sister. What? Grandma is very good to me. Since she is my grandma, you are my relatives. So when my father summoned me to Beijing, and I was given the power of the inner treasury, and the marriage granted by His Majesty, I gladly accepted all these. Being in this muddy water, what I want is not these power and wealth, but the truth behind it. The assassination on Newland Street is the first step to get closer to the truth. Brother, Fan Ruoro was very confused. Her heart was confused. Her thoughts were also confused. She didn't know if her attachment and admiration for brother Fanzine had an extra layer of love, now that she knew they were not related by blood. What? Brother, no matter whether you are my biological brother or not, I will recognize you in the future. You can't go back on your word about the bookstore, okay? Click. As he spoke, Francis put down his teacup, hugged Luo Wen's waist tightly, and refused to let go. Let's talk it over. I've said it before. You are my brother and sister. You were and will be my brother and sister in the future. Don't worry. Oh, haha, then I'll be relieved. Oh, brother, will you be good to Ruoro like before? Do you like Ruoro? Haha, little fool, when you were a child in Danzhou, didn't I tell you bedtime stories to coax you to sleep, and didn't I take you to play everywhere? If I didn't like you, why would I bring you a little burden? Swish. Fan Ruoro's face was flushed with shame, and the restlessness in her heart at this time seemed to have disappeared. Chapter 447 Chaos. Your Majesty, it's bad. A secret report came from Dangai City saying that the city lord has changed hands and Grandmaster Sigu Jian has been killed. The inner court of the Imperial Palace was full of speculations about Fan Zion's sudden violence and power, especially the eldest princess in Guangxin Palace and the prince's lineage in the Eastern Palace. But just when everyone learned that Fan Zion had brought the Northern Key Spicy Lily to his own courtyard and settled her down, without waiting for the civil and military officials, under the instructions of the people behind them, they went to the King Emperor to ask for permission to let Fan Zion hand over the Northern Key Spy. Suddenly, a shocking news swept across the King Kingdom and Northern Key like a hurricane and tsunami. What? Sigu Jian was killed. Why did such a big thing happen suddenly? Could it be that Kuhi of Northern Key did it? No way. What on earth is going on? The trembling Hao Gong, holding the secret report in his hand, was speechless and didn't know where to start. Your Majesty, it's an organization called Zhaixing Pavilion that suddenly appeared. They sent a total of 100 young masters, and with the help of 10,000 Xinghuo troops, they carried out a comprehensive purge of Sigu Jian and his disciples. Dangai City has now been taken over by Xinghuo Square and Zhaixing Pavilion. Xinghuo Square, Zhaixing Pavilion. 100 young masters, 10,000 Xinghuo troops. How is this possible? Your Majesty, go on. Zhaixing Pavilion and Xinghuo Square issued a notice to the public, saying that Fan Zion is their pavilion master. The assassination of the pavilion master by the Dangai City men is a mortal feud with Zhaixing Pavilion and Xinghuo Square, and everyone will be held accountable. What? Fan Zion is their co-leader? How is this possible? With a plop, he sat down on the soft couch helplessly. The Emperor King, who knew everything in the world, suddenly realized at this moment that everything he had carefully considered and secretly arranged was now a ridiculous joke in front of this Fan Zion. Xinhua Fang, the world's business, the first business company in King Country, the former Yi's business company, and now the royal treasury, is now pinned to the ground, unable to resist its sweeping momentum. The huge amount of goods and money handled every year has already caused many speculations and concerns from all parties. Unexpectedly, the Zhaixing Pavilion that suddenly appeared could actually send out 100 masters, even if they were all young men in their 20s, but they were grandmasters, rare grandmasters in the world. Wasn't the long famous Sigu Jian also surrounded and killed overnight? Oh, maybe the information was wrong. Sigu Jian was killed by a young man named Luo Yi, or maybe no one dared to get the information with their own eyes under the pressure of 100 masters? Impossible. How could the wild boy Fan Zion from Danzhou have such a big hand? How could he be the owner of Xinhua Fang? Impossible. The beautiful princess strangled the white cat in her arms to death unconsciously, and she didn't know it yet, and didn't react at all, but kept muttering to herself. The small white paper spread on the table, the information on it, no matter how you look at it, it looks like a shocking joke that was replaced by someone. How could it be true? Hoo hoo, dong dong, aunt, it's bad, it's terrible. The princely Chinkian, whose hands and feet were cold, no longer cared about his dignity as the heir to the royal family. His face was covered with beads of sweat, as if he was out of control. Fan Zion was in Kyoto, and Dangai City, thousands of miles away, was captured and changed hands in an instant. In particular, the 100 masters and the Spark Army were all Fan Zion's forces. Wouldn't it be a way to die if they assassinated Fan Zion? Go back to Beijing quickly, there will be a good show to watch. Miss, you are worthy of being your child. Haha, I want to see with my own eyes how this grown-up child can turn the clouds and rain with a flip of his hand. In the rolling dust, like a dark black cloud, it fell from the sky to the ground. If you look closely, you will find that in the center of the galloping, surrounded by 1,000 black riders, there is a luxurious carriage pulled by 4 horses, and inside it sits an old man with a white face, and no beard and gray hair. Some people couldn't believe that Fan Zion had such a terrifying power. Some people said it was impossible and thought it was a fantasy. However, their intuition and past experiences told them that, if it was Fan Zion who was related to that person, maybe. This is the fact. A person has lived in seclusion in Danzhou for more than 10 years, which is even more secretive and long than the time when his mother became famous. His strength is hidden deeply, and his heart is forbearing. Compared with his mother, this makes people feel more frightened and scared. The master is like the nuclear weapon of scientific and technological civilization, which is enough to deter any country in the world. Just like the Sigu Jan who was destroyed by Zixing Pavilion, the world respects him as the Sword Saint. One person guards a city. Under the attack of Northern Qi and Southern King, he has complete independence and a transcendent status. And the name of Dangai City, who in the world doesn't know? It was destroyed overnight. The arrogant disciples of Sigu Jan fled in all directions and never dared to mention their names again. How terrifying and mysterious is Zixing Pavilion. In addition, Xinghua Fang, which has been in business for 10 years and has its own private elite army, is unknown. The power of the poet Juju Fanzian, who has only recently begun to emerge, is an illegitimate child who grew up in Danzhou. This is called a world. How can people accept it so easily? Master, the master asked you to go to the study to see him, right now. In the backyard of the Fan mansion, the sun was rising higher and higher. Francis got the manuscript that Luo Wen had packed for him and went out happily. Fan Ruoro also looked at her brother with her chin in her hand while quietly waiting for the passage of time, preparing to have another delicious lunch at noon. Well, why did daddy come back at this hour? I didn't hear that he was going to have a day off today. Fan Ruoro's eyes were full of doubts. She was obviously confused. Luo Wen knew that Fan Jian had come back at this time. It was obvious that the order he had issued had been strictly executed. Okay, Ruoro, please help me put these away first. I will make you lunch when I come back. By the way, you can go see Lily and see if she has had a good rest. Oh, I see, brother. It was still the same antique study room full of ink. Do you have anything to tell your father? Fan Jian's words were not as sure and firm as before. After all, the humble young man standing in front of him was too impressive. Father, I have said everything I should have told you. If I didn't tell you, you would find it hard to believe it. Why don't you wait for the fait accompli and judge the truth yourself? Father, he still called me father. So, does that mean he hasn't discovered his true life experience yet? I'm not your biological father, but I accept this father. After all, Grandma raised me for 18 years, and Ruoro is always thinking about the good of my brother. What do you think, father? Hiss you already know your life experience? Did Wazhu tell you? Fan Jian was shocked and nervous at this time. After all, the child's biological mother died in such an unclear way. Wazhu has lost his memory. Perhaps it should be a program error. His memory of Kyoto can't provide me with the information I want. Besides, I just agree with my mother's ideas. Blood relationship is not as important to me as Fanzan. Then, I won't go to find my biological father, but if he dares to run out by himself, I will kill him. Wait, aren't you curious about what the unspeakable secrets are? All the unspeakable secrets are just his own excuses. He couldn't protect his wife and children, and allowed outsiders to assassinate him. This continued until I came to Kyoto, and it has never stopped for 18 years. Father, I'm not a heartless person, but for such a person, how can I not kill him? How can I justify the hardships and difficulties I have suffered? There was no hatred, no resentment, and it was not for Yi Qingmei, the so-called biological mother, to seek justice. What Luo Wen thought was just the most normal human nature. If no one offends me, I will not offend others. If someone offends me, I will kill him. Forget it, this is a matter between you and your father. As an outsider, I can't say anything more. I just hope you can think more, and don't let hatred blind your heart. Fan Jian wanted to persuade him again, and even wanted to tell the young man in front of him who his biological father was. However, when it comes to feelings in the closer party, he should stand on the side of Fan Jian both emotionally and rationally. Chapter 448 Lingong. Lingong? Luo Wen was a little confused. What grudge did this Lingong have against him? Why did he participate in the assassination on Newland Street? Yes, the person who threatened me with my identity as a spy and forced me to provide the Northern Key Master was Lingong. Seeing Fan Zian's disbelief, Lily was also a little panicked at this time. After all, she had slept very comfortably in this small courtyard without knowing it. A delicious lunch also exposed her weakness of greed for appetite. When asked by this person, she had no choice but to confess honestly, as if her consciousness was controlled by mental manipulation. How strange. Brother, this Lin Gong, he is the princess's wife, Lin Wana's biological brother. What? Lin Gong is Lin Wana's brother, so doesn't he know that Wana has developed feelings for Luo Wen, and the two have been secretly exchanging letters for a long time. Besides, Luo Wen cured Lin Wana's hidden disease. As her brother, Lin Gong did not express gratitude, but secretly planned to assassinate Luo Wen. Isn't this too unreasonable? Brother, Lin Gong loves Lin Wana very much, but he is a descendant of the crown prince and princess, I'm afraid. What, a descendant of the crown prince and princess? Luo Wen finally understood after hearing what Fan Ruoruo said. Why did Fan Ruoruo's face change drastically when Silili mentioned the word Lin Gong just now? Okay, Ruoruo, don't worry about this matter anymore. There are many people in the world who hate me and want to kill me, but there are very few people who are good to me and really care about me. Let's stop with the Lin family's affairs. But Fan Ruoruo wanted to say something more on behalf of the simple and kind-hearted Lin Wana, but Luo Wen had already waved his hand to stop her and told her not to say anything more. Ruoruo, if it is not necessary, you should stay in the mansion and don't go out during this period of time. I will also have people protect your safety in secret. Miss Silili, I hope I can send you back to Northern Key safely as soon as possible. Is he planning to go out? Brother, there are some things I will figure out on my own. Some destinies are predestined and cannot be completed well, so it's not others' fault. Wow, please inform them that His Majesty has summoned Master Fan Zion to the palace and ask him to come out. No, I can go in and wait for him. Hiss, the eunuch was cautious, even with 2 teams of elite palace guards following him, but when he arrived at the gate of Fan's house, his legs suddenly became weak. The harmless, gentle, and approachable Master Fan, when an ordinary man is angry, blood splatters 3 feet, but he is not just an ordinary man. Is this what he meant? Eunuch, please forgive me. My Master Fan Zion just went out alone, and we don't know where he went. What, was he riding a horse, or taking a carriage? Which direction did he go? You must have an impression, right? Eunuch, please forgive me. The young master was flying in the air. We really don't know where he went. Plop, it's over, is the thing that His Majesty is worried about really going to happen? Fan Zion asked the mastermind behind the scenes and started to seek revenge on his own. And Luo Wen in the air, he knew everything that happened in front of the Fan mansion, but there was no rush. Wait until he has resolved the matter of the Lin family, and then he will naturally find them one by one. Sister, my second brother is going to Jiangnan soon. If you want anything, I will definitely bring it back to you. In Xixiang Garden, a thin and strong young man, accompanied by his personal sword guard, was saying goodbye to Lin Wana with a caring face. Outside the gate of Xixiang Garden, carriages, bags, and dozens of 5th and 6th rank swordsmen were watching everything around them with vigilance. Oh, is he already alert and wants to go out to hide from the limelight? Second brother, why are you suddenly going to Jiangnan this time? Did the prince assign you some duties? Can I not go? Snap, his feet landed on the ground, and it could have landed silently. Unfortunately, Luo Wen was not willing to be the stealth person. Mr. Fan, how did you fall from the sky? Fan, are you Fan Zion? What a talented, forbearing and handsome young man. Unfortunately, everyone underestimated this person. If Lin Gong himself could know his hidden strength in advance, I'm afraid he wouldn't have come to this point today. Fan Zion, someone, come and protect Master Lin, be careful. The 2 7th rank swordsmen, who were facing a formidable enemy, drew out their sharp swords and shouted loudly, summoning the large number of guards who had not followed them in to avoid suspicion. Brother, Master Fan, what are you doing? Why are you drawing your swords against us? Brother, quickly ask them to put away their swords. Master Fan is not a bad person. Lin Wana stamped her feet in anxiety, but no matter how she begged her second brother, and no matter how she tried to stop him, the swordsman who heard the shouts still rushed in fiercely in an instant. Miss, what are they doing? Most of the maids in Xixiang Garden are young and pretty, and there are few male servants. Even the warriors who guard the house are mostly female warriors. Lin Gong? Luo Wen had a cold look on his face and did not respond to Lin Wana's greeting. He originally thought that the marriage was very interesting because of a marriage contract, and coupled with the first encounter arranged by someone in the temple, he had a yearning in his heart and wanted to have a love affair across time and space with this fairy-like woman. Unfortunately, it seems that he can't get his wish now. Yes, I'm Lin Gong. The Neolan Street assassination case was committed by me alone. If you have anything, just come to me. My sister is completely unaware of it, and it has nothing to do with these people. Fan Zion, if you are a man, we can have a one-on-one life and death duel. The prince's disciples, the eldest princess's lineage, the entire family of Chen Lieutenant General of the City Guard was wiped out. The northern key spy Cheng Jushu, the female swordsman of Dangai City. What a big deal. Lin Gong, do you think you can take all the charges alone? Or in other words, are you more courageous and confident than Si Gujian of Dangai City? Master Fan. He was assassinated, and it was actually related to his second brother. Second brother was about to leave, saying that he suddenly had to go to Jiangnan. But why? Lin Wana felt desolate and endless grief in her heart. Fan Zion's guards died to save him, and the Neolan Street case involved a wide range of people. Wouldn't their engagement and friendship be cut off before they even started? Fan Zion, what prince, what princess, I don't quite understand. If you have the guts, just duel with me, don't talk so much. Hoo-hoo, dang dang, not to mention Lin Gong's tense body, his heart was about to jump out of his chest. His guards knew that the man in front of him with outstanding temperament was the master of Zixing Pavilion and the owner of Xinghua Fang. He killed Cheng Jushu in the street, intimidated the Inspection Institute alone, and was able to move freely outside without any harm. Their actions to confront him were completely a way to death. Oh, there's no need to be so nervous. I just came to confirm the relationship between you and Miss Lin. Now I have the answer, and you should think about it. This matter will soon be known to everyone. You colluded with Northern Key spies and murdered the heir of the inner treasury in the street. How are you, the prince and the princess behind you, going to explain to the world? Hiss this. I won't kill you, but someone will use your life to silence the public. Whether it's the prince or the princess, compared to the whole world, they are insignificant abandoned pawns. What do you think? No, impossible. Plop. Lin Gong seemed to suddenly react. His clownish behavior, apart from making people laugh, really couldn't change their doomed tragic fate. Ms. Lin, I think there will be little room for maneuver in this hostile relationship between us. Goodbye. Wait. Before Lin Wana could say what she was thinking and ask Fan Zion to help her second brother, Luo Wen's figure disappeared, and his body soared into the sky, heading straight for the inner courtyard of the Imperial Palace in the center of the city. Chapter 449. Shocking. Your Majesty, Fan Zion has left the palace, and it is hard to find his whereabouts. I'm afraid he is going to take action. The aura of the whole body is condensed but not dispersed, gathered but not released. Is Emperor King the Fourth Master hidden in the palace of King Kingdom in the world? But what if he hides his strength? Luo Wen has countless masters under his command. From Luo Yi to Luo Shimei, they have received his personal teachings, and have broken through the realm of innateness, and reached the realm of heaven and man. The next step is the realm of God and man, corresponding to the fusion period of a cultivator. He is just a small master of the innate realm. He can hide if he wants. Luo Wen flew over the Imperial study and searched for the target of this trip in the air. The figures of the prince and the eldest princess. Found it. Originally, everyone became a family of in-laws and worked together to seek the welfare of the people of the world. Wouldn't it be wonderful? Alas, he must be domineering, and his selfish desires will never be satisfied. Why bother? Boom, the wind and clouds changed, the sun and moon lost their light. The aunt and nephew, who were sitting in the garden and were eagerly discussing Fan Zion's affairs, suddenly felt the ground shaking, thinking that the world was moving, and a natural disaster earthquake had occurred, and all the palace servants and royal family members below looked up at the sky. All of them were horrified and terrified. In the panic of the golden divine light, there was actually a person, a handsome man with fluttering clothes, extraordinary and unworldly, and in the unbelievable eyes of everyone, two huge palm prints tens of meters deep appeared on the ground. Guangxin Palace disappeared in the palace, as well as the Prince's East Palace. Only the eldest princess, who was trembling with fear in the fingers, and Li Chengqian, who was pale, and several female officials and palace servants standing around the pavilion, collapsed to the ground and survived, since there is no personality, living like an ant, then reincarnate again, hoping to be a dignified perfect person in the next life. Princess Li Yunru, Crown Prince Li Chengqian, this is my return gift for the assassination on Newland Street. Next time, it's better to find out the details, before fighting me to the death. Hiss, how dare you openly challenge the majesty of the royal family, and threaten your life. However, with such astonishing strength, even the immortals like the mountains and seas, I'm afraid that the master is just an ant under his feet. Who would dare to offend the real exiled immortals? What, you want to stay here, and don't want to go back to Northern Key? After venting the nameless anger in his heart, Luo Wen finally returned to Fan Mansion without any trouble. And he just sat down, and see Lily, who was dressed in a beautiful outfit, and restrained the worldly air, tenderly offered him the fragrant mist tea picked from the islands and mountains. That's right. Compared to the hopeless and insecure Northern Key, being with Master Fan makes Lily feel at ease, and relaxed like never before. I don't want to go back. Master Fan, please take me in. I'm willing to be your slave or maid. See, Lily got the information from somewhere, or heard the news of the destruction of Dangai City. Now she understood that compared to the so-called imperial power or a big family, this handsome young man who made people yearn for her was her best destination. He was extremely powerful. At least, with him, Lily felt the respect and equality she had never experienced before. It was not for her beauty, nor was it mixed with other ulterior motives. It was just a normal and calm interaction, and the wonderful feeling of being cared for by someone sincerely. No, this is only the third time we have met. Don't you miss your family and friends? Why did you choose me, a stranger? Luo Wen might have guessed the answer. During the half hour, when he was out, the clever and calculating Lily might have heard the news from somewhere, so she gave up everything, and was willing to seek refuge with the most powerful man in the world. If you are floating like duckweed, what you lack is a sense of security and reliance. Now that Northern Key and King have started a war on the border, who knows what changes will happen in the future? It is better to find a real backer to ensure a safe life. Isn't this the greatest vision of life? Lily has been trained to have talents since she was young, but she can't decide whether to stay or go, so she can only go with the flow and be manipulated by others. In this case, I want to seize this only opportunity in life and decide my future. Although Lily is a young girl, she has never had a man. If Mr. Fan doesn't mind, I would like to be your maid to do all the work for you. Beauty, dignity, scheming, coldness, all were put in a secret place and no longer revealed on the surface. At this time, Lily expressed her truest thoughts and intentions without hiding or covering up. She was so weak and pitiful that people really felt pity for her from the bottom of their hearts. Well, there is no distinction between superiors and subordinates in my place. Since Miss Lily is unwilling to return to Northern Key, then stay here and be friends with me on an equal footing. When I have dealt with the chores in Kyoto, you can decide whether to go or stay. Oh, so that's great, haha. Regardless of whether Lily was willing or not, or whether she cared about how Fan Zion treated her, becoming a concubine or a maid without status, she didn't care. But now Fan Zion agreed to treat her as an equal, and they would start as friends. This was undoubtedly good news that was far beyond her expectations, and filled with endless joy. Your Majesty, is Fan Zion demonstrating to the royal family? It was more than a demonstration, it was a suppression by force. How could Eunuch Hao not be trembling with fear and inexplicable horror on his face? No, he was not demonstrating, but warning. He should have known his life experience, so he was showing mercy. The deep eyes of Emperor King, which used to be full of restrained brilliance, are now full of helplessness and regret, as well as a hint of relief. However, shouldn't a supreme ruler who should be in control of the overall situation of the world and not tolerate any provocations be dissatisfied and secretly plan to kill him? Of course, this is just an ordinary and powerful enemy. The current Fan Zan is obviously beyond this scope. With his strength, I'm afraid that the position of the supreme ruler of King Kingdom can be seized by force at will. Zixing Pavilion, Xinghua Fang, who in the world dares to say no, or mention the 4 words its name is not right? Just like today's Emperor King, didn't he also take the throne from the legitimate heir? History has always been written by the victor. Whether it is good or bad, only future generations are qualified to judge. Contemporary people don't have this opportunity. But your majesty, now that Fan Zan has publicly revealed the mastermind behind the Newland Street assassination, the princess and the crown prince are too frightened and are ill in their temporary residence. How should we explain this to the officials in the court? Didn't Lin Gong admit himself that he was the one who handled the matter? Why is it related to the East Palace and the princess? What about Fan Zan? Send the 5 military commanders' office to arrest Lin Gong and send him to the Ministry of Justice for questioning. Find out the relevant personnel and punish them for treason and treason. As for Fan Zan, draft an edict to summon him to the palace in 3 days, saying that I have a secret to tell him in person. Emperor King thought he had figured out what Fan Zan was thinking at the moment, and he knew what he was expecting. Instead of passively accepting it, it would be better to use these secrets and blood ties to exchange for a chance of survival for the princess and the crown prince. Unfortunately, this Fan Zan is not that Fan Zan, and Luo Wen cannot really be, as Emperor King thought, a loving young man who wants to find his relatives. Chapter 450, Entering the Palace for an Audience. Since the day when Fan Zan's name resounded throughout the palace, the Fan Mansion has become extremely lively, with guests and friends coming one after another. Whether they are seeking to see the fallen immortal Fan Zan, or to curry favor with him, and talk about their friendship and old relationship with the Fan Mansion, they are all for fame, wealth and power, or perhaps something else. Now everyone knows that Fan Zan is a person of the highest status in the world. In terms of power, Dangai City belongs to him. The master has hundreds of Zixing pavilions serving him, and the Xinghua Square that collects the world's wealth is also his private property. Not to mention, he stood in the air and blasted Guangxin Palace and the East Palace into the ground with 2 palms. The prince and the eldest princess are now bedridden in the side hall. It can be said that Fan Zan is the fallen immortal who controls the power of life and death. Compared with power, fame, wealth, and endless life, isn't it the pursuit and dream that mortals in the world yearn for the most? His Majesty, who did not react at all, might have been frightened by him. Just like the great master Sigu Jan of Dangai City, his disciples traveled everywhere, and they also ignored the imperial power and laws. Fan Zan was even more powerful than Sigu Jan. His own strength was beyond the imagination of ordinary people, and his subordinates were even more terrifying. Because of pleasing him, he offended the supreme ruler of the dynasty. I'm afraid that Emperor King would not dare to bear the sin of not knowing how to live or die. Mr. Fan, if I have been disrespectful before, please forgive me, Mr. Fan. Haha, the eunuch Hao, who looked flattering and cautious, saw Fan Zan in a moon-white long gown. It was just like when he saw him on the street a few months ago. He was still graceful and gentle, giving people the impression of a harmless modest gentleman. However, after all the changes that have happened, it is impossible for anyone in the world to dare to treat Fan Zan with the attitude of an ordinary person. It's okay. I always keep my word. I kindly reminded you that day, but unfortunately Eunuch Hao and the master behind you didn't seem to take it to heart. Otherwise, you wouldn't have made yourself so embarrassed, right? Yes, it's my fault. I didn't make it clear, which led to all the misunderstandings now. Please don't make things difficult for your majesty, Mr. Fan. Haha, Eunuch Hao was dancing on a tightrope, and every word he said was carefully considered. However, in front of Fan Zan, Eunuch Hao didn't dare to show any falseness except for a smile from the bottom of his heart. Oh, that's fine. Anyway, whether you have a message or not, the result has already been determined. Whether you explain it or not, someone will have to bear the consequences. What do you think, Eunuch Hao? Luo Wen waved his hand and chatted with the sweaty eunuch in front of him. He didn't have the slightest intention of showing his previous exiled immortal wrathful to the world again. Creak, creak, Unikao. Huata, Huata, go away, don't get in the way here, get out of the way. The oncoming palace guards and the palace maids they met along the way all came forward to salute Unikao. But in the past, for Unikao, this was a wonderful enjoyment of being respected and feared. Now he was afraid of causing dissatisfaction from Fan Zion beside him, so he had to be careful to make fun of him while waving his hands to let the palace maids and guards get out of the way. Unikao, it seems that the master of your family still misunderstood my intentions. He is still using these extremely subtle means to test my character. He clearly knows that I'm not under his control, but he is still trying his best to test me again and again. What a far-sighted and extremely patient 4th Grandmaster. Hiss what? Master Fan, what do you mean? Why do you say His Majesty is testing you? Why do you say His Majesty is a great master? The fearful Unikao was now in a panic, and was obviously confused by Luo Wen's nonsense. You summoned me to the palace secretly, but did not dismiss the attendants. Instead, you asked the maids and guards who did not take this route to deliberately go around. Did you want to test my patience, or did you think I could not see it? Besides, Unikao, you seem to have been deceived by His Majesty who has served you for many years. What a resourceful Emperor King, what a perceptive emperor, who hides his amazing strength, but is willing to be a wise man behind the scenes, so that people all over the world look down on him. What ulterior purpose is he planning to achieve in the end? Interesting, really interesting. Your Majesty, Master Fan has arrived. Behind the Imperial Garden was a lake, and in the distance were lush green mountains. What a pleasant place to cultivate one's sentiments. Unfortunately, such a beautiful scenery that allowed one to relax and look out from the railing did not cultivate an open-minded and wise personality for Emperor King. He wore a white gauze dress and even wore no shoes. He casually tied his black and white hair into a bun, and there were strands of messy grey hair hanging beside his ears, which looked extremely casual and sloppy. Just like a host who was eager to welcome guests, he didn't bother to tidy up his appearance, which made him look particularly sincere and particularly concerned. Are you my biological father? And you were peeking out the door just now, waiting for me to approach, before pretending to come out in a hurry? Hiss plop. Your Majesty, I'll take my leave. Unikao didn't dare to continue listening to such earth-shattering news. Oh, you are just like the rumors, with outstanding grace and extraordinary temperament. You are like me, too much like me. The first time I met your mother was just like today, unexpected and impressive. Emperor King was just amazed, and the expression on his face seemed to be recalling the past, full of fascination and intoxication. He did not directly answer Luo Wen's question. This point was modified by the system just right. The two of them were exactly the same, always answering questions irrelevantly and saying some incomprehensible words without paying attention to others. You clearly know my strength and can see through all your disguises, but you still did it. That can only mean one thing, that truth is false and false is true, and you have integrated your habits and character into your life. Can't you change them, even if you want to? Or, are you expressing your true feelings, and don't want to pretend to be profound to deceive me? Oh, you are gifted and intelligent, as if you were reborn. Today I have seen it, do you understand? Puff. The smile on Emperor King's face froze at this moment. The golden light in Luo Wen's eyes was slowly fading, and the indifference and ruthlessness on his face also fell into the eyes of Emperor King, whose vision was gradually darkening. Cough, coo, I know. I knew what would happen at the beginning, but I still let King Mui be killed, letting you wander outside and be hunted down. As a father, I was wrong. I deserve it, and I can't blame others. King Mui didn't lie to me. It was my fault. Plop. Blood kept gushing out of his throat, and Emperor King didn't shout loudly to protect him. Originally, according to Luo Wen's preference, he should have cut off his head directly, leaving Emperor King without any last words, and disappearing sadly with a heart full of resentment. However, in the end, Luo Wen still hesitated, and just used his divine consciousness to cut off Emperor King's neck, leaving him with an intact body. Unexpectedly, Emperor King not only did not clamor or get angry, but instead had a look of resignation and relief. When Emperor King fell, he injured the passage of life, exhausted all his true energy and potential, and muttered some inexplicable words, and even took out a royal edict from his arms, and pointed it at Luo Wen. I feel guilty towards the world, guilty towards my heart, guilty towards the promises and beliefs I made to the one I love. Now, I'm willing to die to atone for my sins, and abdicate to Fan Zun. All the people and officials in the world shall obey my orders and not disobey. Xayana, can I call you like this? I know you hate me, but maybe I don't even have the qualifications to be hated. I blame myself. I don't blame anyone else. I just hope that my death can help you resolve the confusion in your heart, let go of the resentment in your heart, and ask you to spare the Lee family. Thank you. What is this? Damn, system, is this the real father you arranged for me? Click, your majesty, woo woo. Well, now Luo Wen couldn't explain himself. Emperor King committed suicide to thank the world, and left a will to abdicate. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.